Alright guys, so I have some bad news about episode 1. It did not go through. I had saved it to the past broadcast, but for some reason it just did not take. So we have lost episode 1, but we still have the world. I haven't deleted it. I don't see the need in having to delete 2 worlds, so we'll just pick up where we left off last time. We had found a village. We were living in said village, and we had done a little bit of mining. We also had a lot of crops, but we've actually started to accumulate a massive item, so we're going to definitely need to make some more storage, or else we are going to be swamped. Also, we have some neighbors. They are the villagers. It would have been nice if I could have got MCMA to work with this mod pack so that the villagers wouldn't be default. They would have had skins, but it just would not take with this mod pack. So we're gonna put all our eggs over into this chest, and once we have some incubators and we have the enclosures, we'll definitely be able to have our variety of eggs. We already have a bunch of eggs for when we were deforesting the area around us to make the zoo. So we are definitely going to have a wide variety of birds. And then, yeah, we've already moved the crop. It looks like we've already organized a little bit. We're going to go ahead and make a talisman just because I want to focus more on clearing out the trees today. So to make the talisman, we're going to make the covalence dust. So we're going to need a diamond, this, 8 cobble, and then 1 charcoal. Alright. So let's get the charcoal going. High covalence dust is... Alright, so that's the high covalence dust. I'm pretty sure the medium covalence dust, if I remember the recipe right, is, yep. And then the low tier one would be this crafting recipe right here. Alright. So we have the covalence dust to make our talisman of repair, which basically it's going to repair our items in our inventory, and eventually we can put items to be repaired in our alchemical bags, which alchemical bags will give us a lot of storage. Like, a lot of storage. So, we don't have any string, though. Oh, man. We might not actually be able to make it, then. I wasted a diamond for nothing. Well, we can at least make the rest of the iron tools, and we can try and hunt for string. Or, actually... That reminds me, Pam's Harvest mod makes it so that you can make string, actually, with cotton. Let's see how much string we can make. We only need 2. 3? Oh, yes. Thank you, Pam's. Alright. I've always really liked the Pam's mod, and it definitely helped us out a lot right there. So we put the paper here. Put this here. Now we have a repair talisman. And the covalence dust we're going to keep because we're going to need it to make alchemical chest. I don't think we actually have the materials to make an alchemical chest quite yet. I'll double check. Yeah, we have a diamond. We could make the chest, but we wouldn't be able to make the actual condenser until we get some more diamonds going. And if you notice, you can start seeing the health bars on the items actually start to repair just holding it and having it in the inventory. So let's go ahead and make our other tools iron, because they're going to degrade super fast as just regular stone tools. So definitely probably want to make a shovel and I would say another pickaxe. If we're going to try and maximize our efficiency here, which we definitely want to do. We don't want to waste all our time just organizing our stuff. And we definitely have crops growing, which is good. We need that. We did have a sheep we pushed into the pasture over here, We have not finished the back end of the pasture, and I did see some predators last time, so we're definitely going to want to get the pasture up and going, and we're going to need to make troughs for the animals. And the troughs will basically allow the animals to eat and breed on their own. So we get them a mate, we can leave them alone, and unlike default Minecraft, we can just breed them. Like we put the food in there. They have, we'll probably end up making a stream of some sort in their enclosure, and they'll basically have all the water and food they need, and they will breed on their own, and they'll be our big wool and meat supplies, which we can farm the wool for easy EMC when we get the power flowers going, or even just the condensers before we have the power flowers. And we will need the wool for alchemical bags as well, so it will be a worthy investment. And last episode there was a cow running around. I'm hoping he's still somewhere around here, and we can use him to we're going to use him to farm milk, and we'll use him as well if we want to make a leather farm, which leather farms could definitely help us out with organizing our materials, because item frames are super useful. I thought it was another sheep for a second, but it's just a white owl. We have 2 white owls now, it seems. And I'm pretty sure this is an owl egg. Yep. We're definitely going to want to keep all the eggs we get, because they might just accumulate in our storage at the moment. But when we start making our exhibits and we start making our aviaries to put the birds in and stuff like that, we're going to need a lot of the eggs. It will definitely help us a lot. Also, I spent some time yesterday off stream fixing up the overlay a little bit. I'm hoping I keep to the changes, but I might end up changing the colors a little bit and make it more streamlined. But this is the first time I've done I've done it the past few days, but I'm still trying to get the hang of streaming. And then we hear lots of birdies. The birds are going crazy. Mainly the owls. I think the owls are not happy that we've kind of taken over their habitat. But they're just going to have to get used to the new order of things. Alright. I definitely want to pin this up before the goat gets an idea of escaping. And then we got the koala over here. I'm hoping he doesn't trample our crops really badly. He looks like he's just wandering around aimlessly. We have enough wood to start enclosing the exhibit, and I think I want to go ahead and do that. I don't think we have enough cotton to make the other leads, but if we can get more cotton to make more leads, we'll be able to start leading the animals into the pen. Because first we're going to get the homestead going, so we can definitely start producing meats and things of that nature, because we're going to need that to feed our animals. We're going to need the crops to feed them, and we'll definitely need meat to feed the carnivores. Alright. So what was I? Oh yeah, fences. So we already have 3 stacks made. We probably should make more. And we have 2 back fences. That will allow us to put animals in from the back and the front. Alright. There we go. Alright, so now we have a bunch of fences, which we're going to need to make the exhibits kind of high, because we haven't flattened out the whole area, and we do not want a predator walking in and eating our caged animals. That would not be very humane. Definitely will not help our efforts to rebuild this kind of population. No, don't run away, sheepy. I'm trying to save you. I am your savior. Alright. And definitely this will not be the final edit of the pen. It's just for the immediate use right now. We will cap it. We might even divide up the pens once we've actually got a good stock. So we'll have like separate pens for the sheep, separate pens for the cows. But right now, since we don't have too many, segregating them, separating them, it doesn't make a big deal right now. Keep mistalking. And an ostrich egg. The ostrich eggs are really large. I wonder if we can actually cook them. I want an ostrich omelet. See how big of an omelet I can make with ostrich. That'd be a cool thing if you like went to a Denny's or an IHOP and you could actually make your own omelet with the ostrich eggs. Have just a giant thing. Hello. He's looking at us right now. Hello, Mr. Ostrich. They keep just like wandering in and wandering out, and I can't tell if they want to be encaged or if they're just, you know, they're just doing what ostriches do and they're just like wandering around looking for insects. Because in real life, that's what they do a lot. Like a lot of bird species will hunt around looking for insects on the ground to consume and eat. So I'm wondering if that's why we're seeing a lot of these guys running around. Definitely seen a lot of owls too, especially as I'm deforesting. I'm seeing more and more of them. So we definitely have a high owl population. Eventually, I would like to get some of the exhibits over to the desert. We'll probably have to knock out a lot of the sand and replace it with grass to have good land for our animals, because we don't want them to live on the sand unless that's actually their natural habitat. Alright, get out. I gotta get the koala out too. I don't know how easy the koala will want to get out. Alright, we're gonna try and start making these too high. This is just to prevent predators from trying to get in. We'll have to make certain sections like 3 high. And any misclicks I'll go around and replace. So this one's definitely gonna have to be about 4 or 5 blocks high. Yeah. I want to really remove this house, but at the same time we could use this house as a storage shed for resources, such as food for the troughs and things like that. Instead of having to store them in the pens, we could use that as a utility shed. And this poor villager, he's going to be our oh, what do they call him? He's going to be our zoo maintenance worker. His job's going to be to stay in here and guard the animals. We're just setting him up. He's basically going to be our animal scarecrow. He will scare off the outside animals, but he will maintain the animals inside. That is his job description. He didn't sign up for this job, but I have assigned him a job now, so I am a job creator. Alright, let's knock these 2 off because we do not want to block our entrance and exit. Alright, I should have more room now. I want to be able to pick up the birch and the oak. Alright, they're picked up. Let's get back in the pen. Oh look! He's what? He can scale the fences? Oh, that's cute. Okay. So he's going to get inside of our enclosures no matter what we do, unless we actually put a roof on it. If we did put a roof on it, I'm thinking I would probably do a wool roof. And the reason for that is the wool's the closest thing I can think of to kind of like tarps. Like in real zoo exhibits and stuff like that, when they don't want the animals to get rained on or they want a safe place to put them, but they don't want to actually build a real structure, they'll put tarps. And wool would be the closest thing we have to tarps if we turned the wool into carpet. And then it would kind of give us our tarp-like structure. Yeah, we're definitely going to have to make this taller. Because we do not want the predators seeing our animals down there and, you know, declaring an open season and eating them. That would not be good. You wouldn't leave a, oh, what are they called? You wouldn't leave your goats next to a T-Rex exhibit at Jurassic Park and expect that to go well. So we're definitely not going to be bad animal keepers and not look out for our basic animals. Because farm animals, while they aren't 4-star attractions, they are still a very important part of teaching people about animal, not just preservation, but domestication and what domestic animals are like. Because like I've said in the previous videos, you know, a lot of people grow up and they don't get to see what animals are like You know, they don't get the country life or the appeal of it, you know? Living out in the middle of nowhere where you have no cell service, you're so off the grid that you only have well water, you know? Waking up at the crack of dawn to take care of animals. Like, a lot of people can't fathom what that kind of life is like. And, you know, on paper it kind of sounds terrible, but at the same time it teaches you a lot of things that I think not a lot of people get in their early lives. Because, for one, it definitely teaches you about responsibility, because you're responsible for all the animals in your care. You're responsible for doing all the chores to make sure that those animals are taken care of, which means, like, cleaning out their water troughs, cleaning out the poop, making their beds and stuff like that. It definitely is a new... He just keeps getting in and escape. I wonder if he's friends with the... Look at him! He just keeps breaking in. We're gonna have to call him, you know, Houdini or something, because he keeps doing this. Houdini the koala. Speaking of naming animals, I was trying to set up a prize wheel where I could actually have it where if you guys join the stream and you spin the prize wheel, you could get prizes in the series, like naming an animal in one of the exhibits after you and stuff like that, but I haven't quite figured out how the wheel works. Because I played with it a little bit last night. I had it set up, but it just... I don't know how it would tell me who wins what. I don't know if you'd have to screenshot it and then send it to me, and then how do I prevent people from screenshotting or editing it? It looked like a big headache. But if I can get it going, that's something I would like in the series, because then I won't have to come up with the names all by myself. Because I always have problems with naming things and making them unique. I always kind of have a theme. Like, out in Wichita, Kansas, they have a... it's called the Tangia Wildlife Park. And you can go there and they'll let you feed ring-tailed lemurs. And when me and my husband went, you could all the lemurs they had out were the males because the moms were pregnant, and all the males were named after Game of Thrones characters. So they had Robert Baratheon, Stannis Baratheon, Renly, Jon Snow, Tyrion, and that was like the cutest thing ever. But I imagine, you know, with the animals living so long in captivity, after Game of Thrones is like finished airing and stuff like that, people will be so confused by the names, because they'll be like, what are their names? They won't really get the reference as much. But I do find it adorable that that's a way they came up with. There's also a pet shelter I saw online that was giving their cats some unique names. Like, they had one called Lord Snugglewumps, and like the Good King something, and I thought that was kind of adorable too, that they were sitting there and like naming them after royalty and stuff. It definitely got them a lot of attention. So with naming these animals, I'd like a little diversity, although if I end up having to name them completely solo, there definitely will be a kind of theme for each division of animals, most likely. But I will try and do it myself. I'm just worried that it won't be it won't be as diverse as if there was other people to give me input. I could definitely do all the ships that I have, because I've been meaning to get back into writing all the fan fictions I've been wanting to. But I've been finding that I have a big... I don't want to say huge, but I definitely have a big case of writer's block, just because it's been so many years. And I have all these ideas, but every time I try and sit and write something, it doesn't work as well. I find that I actually wrote the best. Like people seem to like my writing the best when I was at the worst point in my life. I don't know how, but all the papers, all the essays I did when I was in a really dark place as a person was the essays that got me into writing contest and basically got me recognition as being a decent poet and decent storyteller and things like that. But since I'm no longer horribly depressed and sad all the time, it seems like a lot of people don't really, I don't want to say connect. It just, I guess my work doesn't have the same level of depth that it used to, because I guess being depressed was my muse. Like, some people find their inspiration for art and things like that during times in their lives that are very turbulent. And a lot of artists and stuff like that actually can produce really good work in the, you know, deepest, darkest, sad parts of their lives, that they can make something beautiful out of something horrible. But I can't do it when I'm happy, so I guess I'm just kind of a mock artist. Alright, so we've got this enclosure going over here. I kind of want, I might just dig it to make it so nothing can jump in, because leveling the fences is going to make it look really ugly, if we're going to be honest. So we're just going to level this baby off. Definitely take out this tree up here because it's kind of in my way. I wanted to go mining, but I think maybe we should stay at the homestead and try and grab some more animals if we can. Because as much as getting the EMC going, we definitely want to have some animals, and we don't want to miss out on them getting eaten by predators, because then we'll have to wait for them to respawn. And that is one of my fears, because I've seen like a group of lions around here. I've seen a group of tigers. I do not want our beautiful exhibit animals to get devoured before we can put them in here, you know? That's the worst thing to happen. We have a zoo only of carnivores because the carnivores literally devoured everything else. We can't have any zebras. We have to venture to the ends of the map because they devoured all the local zebras. Like, that would be terrible. I mean, it definitely would incentivize us to make the safari vehicle, but I don't really want to have to use it. And we do have a pig here. Hello, Mr. Pig. He's a spotted pig, and look, this is the thing I talked about in a previous video. I don't know if anybody watched that, but they do have nipples. Like, when they lay on their side, they have nipples, and they have this little curly tail. It actually looks cuter than the default. And here's our cow. All right, and like I said, at night they do sleep. So you see how he's on his side. And this cow, even though he's kind of glitched into the tree, he's asleep as well. His eyes are closed. He's laying down. Oh, we might actually be able to make the leads. This is a string tree. So, oh boy, we definitely are going to be able to. I heard a lion. Okay, we need to go back real quick, and we need to make the leads, because we want to be able to get these animals safely without the predators getting to them. And they are very close to our base. So let's go throw this stuff in a chest. I need 2 leather. I wonder if I already have that, or if I'm going to have to kill something. I don't want to kill our lone cow. I might be able to kill these guys and get leather from them. I'm not sure. We'll have to double check on that. Because, I mean, he's not really doing anything in the well, so, I mean, worst case comes, we'll just kill Mr. Buffalo out there. Alright, so we need 2 leather, 2 string. Oh, we do have enough leather. Nice. I'm pretty sure we got this when we first settled in the village and we raided that chest, because I can't remember killing anything. Alright, so we have a single lead. Actually, let's go ahead and just make 2. Now that I think about it, like 2 would better serve our purposes. Yeah. Alright, so let's go grab the cow and the pig, and we'll see where we're at with that. Oh, they're up here, aren't they? Alright, let's see. Yeah, okay, so pig's where we left them. Mr. Cow's where we left, and I'm pretty sure these 2 are the little culprits destroying the croplands for crops. Alright. It kind of sucks that we only have 1 of each, but We can make do. If we find any mates for them, we oh, rip. Alright, come on, piggy. We'll definitely start breeding them. Oh, he's squealing. He doesn't like. Curious fact, if you actually get a pig as a pet and you put them on a, like, you try and walk them, like my little sister, we got her a pot-bellied pig as a pet. Her name was Dora. And one day I had to move her out of the enclosure we had her in. It wasn't really a enclosure, it was more or less a pen. We were moving her out of the pen so that I could clean it and we could rotate the pen somewhere else because she just kept destroying the area she was supposed to sleep in. So we're gonna move the pen. And it was the first time I'd ever heard a pig scream. And I'm pretty sure to this day I still suffered eardrum loss from that pig just shrieking. Like it thought I was going to kill it. I was just trying to walk it to a safe place I could keep it until I got the pen moved. But that thing just screamed and screamed and screamed. And it was a horrible sound, too. It was not a nice sound. And that was the day I realized I really don't like pigs. Like, I don't feel as guilty when I eat bacon because they are so loud. They will burst your eardrum. They just do not care. All right, so we're going to go ahead and make a trough, which these are the troughs that you feed them with the Animania mod. So they do need a little bit of iron, but we have plenty right now. So we're going to go ahead and make some. And these troughs, basically, the pigs are a little harder to feed because they actually need milk, which I thought was really weird. But everything else pretty much just eats wheat. So I'm okay with having a little weirdness on the pig end as long as we can make sure that we have enough for the other animals. Yeah, we're definitely going to want more troughs than this. I'm thinking about 10. Yeah. And I'm sorry if you can hear like the little villagers. They're just making their disapproving noises. They're basically talking about my Senate race for senator being bad and that I rigged the election. But I mean, they can't prove anything. And there's definitely no FBI in this town. So I'd like to see them prove it in court. So yeah, you'll hear them making disapproving humping noises. That's more or less because they didn't want me to be mayor, but now I'm mayor and they can't really do anything about it, so they just gotta suck it up and they're not very happy about that. Alright, so we're just gonna, we can sporadically put these around. I want to put a central water feature. I'm thinking I can make it a 2x2 block of infinite water, and it will go from like one side of the pasture to the other side. And I'm trying to think, we could probably actually do it right here now that I'm thinking about it. All right, so let's dig down a little bit. And you may be asking yourself, why are you making it too deep? And I just realized I don't want it to be that deep, because especially if we get peacocks and chickens, we don't want them endlessly flapping around in the water. So we're going to just dig this. And then I'm saying about right here, we'll kind of make it like its actual stream. So it'll come down into a lower level and we can have that. And this basically ensures that they have fresh water. If the troughs aren't full of food and it rains in game, they will actually collect water. But we shouldn't use that as our main source of water. We do want them to have available water and food. And if I get some more wheat real quick, or I go grab the wheat from the house, I'll show you what it looks like when you put the food in the troughs for the animals. So let's go up here. Yeah, they're hankering to get out. They're like, let us out. This is prison. We have rights. This is against the Geneva Accord. You have a nice pen. I don't know why you don't want to be in your nice pen, guys. Come on. I worked really hard on making your pen. You're just going to sit there and talk about your rights and how you're sad in your pen. Like, it hurts my feelings, guys. It really does. Just be happy in there. Come on. You have a nicer pen than I live in. I live in a house with like 4 other villager dudes who constantly ask me to try and get them tax breaks. Okay? At least least the worst you got is a sheep and a pig, Mr. Cow. I don't want to hear it. You don't have people constantly telling you that they want a social reform passed in the village. Okay, this is a village with a population of maybe 11 villagers, if I counted right. Okay? I shouldn't have to spend my time trying to get the villagers to accept me as mayor. Instead, they just sit here and they're like, well, I didn't elect you. And then, like, other ones are like, I didn't elect you. I didn't elect you. And then I have to remind them that this is a monarchy. This is not a democracy. But I don't think they really understand. I don't know how, like, educated they are at villager school, but I'm guessing that the education levels do not go very high. And if you saw, he just ran over to me. It's because I have the wheat. See, this is the only good villager, okay? We're going to have to name him something nice. I'm thinking, we definitely don't want to do Ted. Because every time I think Ted, I think of Ted Cruz, and he's the Zodiac Killer. Oh, man. It's going to be so bad. I feel kind of bad for him, but at the same time, I forget what senator it was that basically roasted him one day and was just talking about how if somebody stabbed him on the Senate floor, none of them would report it because none of them would see it as a crime and stuff. And I was just like, that's so mean. When your fellow congressmen don't even like you. Like, it's one thing when the internet hates you. It's another thing when your, like, fellow constituents don't see you as a valid person. There's got to be soul crushing. Anyways, so yeah, we want to get more of them, but we're definitely going to keep them fed. See, this is what I'm talking about. This isn't the first tiger I've seen. I've seen a few others, and I definitely saw lions earlier. I think he's chasing the little, I'm pretty sure it's not called an armadillo. I'm pretty sure they're called the I always suck at pronouncing foreign hippopotamuses. I'm also pretty sure if I didn't have this in peaceful mode, the hippopotamuses would attack me. Ooh, and we just found a cow. Oh, Lord. We need to get him back without the lion scene. Come on, come on, come on. Come on, secret cow. Secret cow. Come on. Man, you're definitely going to get eaten by lions if you're this slow. Come on. Come on, come on. Oh, man, this cow. This cow right here. You are going to die today, Mr. Cow. Come on. I'm trying to save you from death. Okay? Oh, no. There's a lion over here. Come on, come on, come on. There's a meerkat. Hey, Mr. Meerkat. Oh, man, there's another tiger. Okay, come on. Come on. Run past the hippos. I hope the hippos don't attack you. Because that's really going to decide your fate, is if the hippos attack you. Alright, come on, come on. Definitely going to get him back to the pen. Because I'm pretty sure this is a male. No, it might be a female. The different varieties have smaller and bigger horns. This might just be a girl, and he's a guy, is it? Or no? Well, we definitely have two females now. Females and males, or actually, maybe he is a male. It's hard to tell, honestly. Alright, come on, come on. Alright. I guess the only way to really tell is once we put the water in here and see if they actually breed. Or if they breed right now. Are they male and female? I can't tell. Usually one's bigger than the other one if they're male and female. But these are two varieties. Like as you notice, this one's brown and this one's black. They spawned in different biomes. Not all the pigs will look like this pig. Not all the sheeps will look like that sheep. Depending on the area in which they spawn, they will kind of basically have a variety of breeds. Which, if you're wondering why that is, it has to do with kind of Darwinism. The idea of survival of the fittest, how species are similar, but they adapt to the regions that they live in, right? So you could have two birds that live in very different regions that are the same species, but adapt differently to the areas that they live in. So they may have both started out with small beaks, but one lived in a fishing area, and it developed a longer beak to be able to catch bigger fish. So that's just kind of Darwinism, which is something that also in domestication we did as well. Like if you've ever noticed all the different dog breeds, we bred certain dogs for certain things. We bred dogs for hunting. We bred dogs for basically to be lap dogs. That's how we got the small dog breeds. You know, So the difference in difference in the amount of cows, different traits, Jersey cows, the regular, what are they called? I know it's not dairy. They actually have a name besides the Jersey ones. Oh, look at the little meerkat. But yeah, basically specializing things. And the animals here do have the same kind of thing. Certain, like, the cows from certain regions will drop more leather than cows from another region. Certain cows will drop more meat than cows from another region. So they do also kind of have those perks. I don't exactly remember which ones have the best drop rates. I usually just try and grab whichever ones I find in the biome. If you're wondering what I'm doing right now, I'm trying to see if there's any pigs or sheepies that we can grab real quick. And we see Houdini. He's just over here lurking. Hey Houdini, you having fun? You having fun escaping? Alright, we got some apples, and we're definitely getting a lot of eggs, which is good. Ooh, I see a bunch of surface iron. We're gonna go down here and grab this surface iron. I kind of want to burn through these picks, but now that we have the talisman, I don't know if it will actually destroy the picks unless we just mine constantly. But we're gonna grab this surface iron. We can use it for troughs, we can use it for horse carts. Speaking of horse carts, we're going to need to find horses, which means at some point we are going to have to venture and try and find a plains biome. Because we will want horses. Like, horses are going to make... Definitely they're going to add enrichment, but they'll also make our lives a little bit easier as well, because we can transport from point A to point B, which means just getting around to the different biomes for exhibits and stuff like that will be really nice. Also, we're going to have to decide what kind of road material we want to do. I'm leaning towards coal blocks or cyan terracotta, which, if you don't know, terracotta in Minecraft is stained red with the normal color, so the cyan terracotta actually looks more like... It looks more concrete, or yeah, it looks more like concrete than anything. We could use actual concrete blocks too if we wanted to. Like, we could definitely do... Black concrete doesn't look that nice. Or it doesn't look that nice to me. But we could definitely do... Let's see, what would be the next best... I'm guessing dark gray concrete, or if we want it to look nice, we can do like a light... We could even do a purple or a thing. I was just wanting kind of a default color road, and we could put colors to lead to different exhibits. A lot of themes in zoos is they'll theme them around the regions that the animals are from. So if you've been to a decent sized zoo, not like the ones that happen in like small towns, but like the decent sized towns, they'll break up the exhibits into the Africa exhibit, which basically feature all of the African animals on one side, right? Then you're gonna have your Asian animals on another side. You'll have your sometimes North America is a bit wonky. They always either have it really small or they have it really big, and it's never in between. It's always either really big or really small. And so they'll have that, and they'll basically try and lay out a roadmap of the different varieties of animals and what countries you find them in and stuff like that, which is really neat for the people who want to come see it. And it also, like, if you've been to foreign countries, you kind of already know what the animals there look like, so you can skip over the regions that you've already seen before. So you can just, you know, if you went to the zoo all the time and usually all you could get to before you got tired, or, you know, it was just getting on and the kids are dragging on and stuff like that. If the furthest you could get was Asia or Europe or something like that, when you go the next time, you could make a beeline for the exhibits that you haven't seen to keep it as a fresh and new experience. Alright, so we're back out of the cave. Yay, we didn't get lost. I was really trying very hard not to get lost because I hate getting lost and trying to find my way back out. Alright, so... Oh, that one's a cream color. He's not white, but he is, yeah, He's very cream colored. Oh, you're so cute. All the animals are... There's a lot of owls here. I wonder if this is the biome they spawn in, because I'm seeing a lot of these guys. They're just all over the place. Ooh, more iron. We're almost to a stack now. Nice. We will definitely have enough for Traws and the other items we're going to be making. And there's a safari guy. He's a part of the zoo mods, and eventually, if we can figure out how you get their currency, we'll be able to get vials and stuff like that. But I'm hoping to be able to make it on my own. But definitely, if we can't figure it out, he'll be someone we'll have to go purchase from. And they're just littered all over the map, so it isn't super important to track where he is right now. But definitely in the future, we should keep track of him. And there's some oh, I see a goat. I see 2 goats. Let us... Oh, they got a baby. I wonder if I grab the parents, if the baby will come along, because he doesn't want to be alone. Because I do not have 3 leads, and if I take the baby, I'm gonna have to wait for the baby to grow up, and that's just kind of weird. Alright, and we don't even know the gender of the baby. The baby's gender doesn't really... I can tell usually with the horses I've found what their gender is, but with him being so small, it's gonna be really difficult. Yeah, the baby's not coming along. If we get the chance, we'll come back for baby, but he might be alone for a while. And the mom is just sleeping. Like, look at her. She's just sleeping. I like how they kind of have like a turtle shell pattern on their backs. Definitely makes them super cute. And these are goats, which they do produce wool. They produce unique wool, actually. They don't produce like the default wool. So their colors aren't really compatible with EMC, but we can definitely use it for making some other stuff. Oh, that was a kangaroo. I thought that was a monkey for a second. I was like, is there really a monkey over there? But no, it's a kangaroo. I have that happen a lot in real life too, where I think I see something on the ground and I squint at it and I'm like, oh no, that's a snake, isn't it? And then I look at it, it's just a piece of garbage, and I'm like, oh, thank God. I thought that was about to be a snake and I was about to get bit, because I'm always really paranoid about that. Accidentally stepping over a snake and not realizing it. Alright. Come on, guys. They're definitely both sleeping. Like, they don't even care. Oh, man. They're both kind of glitched into each other at the moment. Alright, come on. Definitely once we have some more of these trees out, I think it'll be a lot easier for us to grab and bring back animals. But at the current moment, with all the trees and stuff like that, it definitely does hinder our advances. It also makes it so we can find these animals before the predators do, though. So it serves a purpose, but at the same time it also is kind of an annoyance. So we will eventually deforest this baby. We won't deforest behind us, but we're definitely going to deforest in front of us. Alright, come on, Mr. Goat. Alright, so we now have 2 goats. And that reminds me, with the iron we got, we'll go ahead and start smelting that. And we should go ahead and start putting in the infinite water sources. Because this livestock is going to need... They won't die, they won't perish from not having water, but they definitely won't breed and they won't be happy. And we want a happy community of animals. We don't want a bunch of sad animals. No one wants to come see a bunch of sad animals in a pen. Who look depressed all day, you know? If you're depressed, your mom doesn't show you off to her friends and be like, oh yeah, this is my son/daughter. They're just moping around because they think no one understands them with their thick eyeliner. That sounds so mean, though. I mean, there are some parents who are like that, though. They're like, oh my God, why can't you be a normal child? I can definitely understand the struggles of having a parent like that, who you desperately want to be kind of normal, but at the same time, they're the parent that embarrasses you. But, you know, deep down, they really love you. They're just really embarrassing. Like, they'll show random strangers pictures of you as a kid. I found this thing recently, and it weirds me out, that parents will take... It's not, like, risque and, like, a dirty way, but it's kind of just like embarrassing photos they take of their kids and stuff like that. And it's always weirded me out because I'm like, I feel like, you know, as a parent, that's their right, you know, they want to save those precious moments. But at the same time, I feel bad for the kids who grow up and their parents have those photos and you know, and they start going through the teenage phase and they're like, what happened to my sweet baby? This used to be you. And they're like, Mom, I was 4 years old. Now I'm 14. And it's like time just flies and stuff like that. And I feel for the kids, but I also feel for the parents because, you know, no one ever wants to see their stuff grow up, you know? If you have a pet dog, you don't want that pet dog to grow up one day and just decide that it no longer wants you in its life, you know? Like it's going to get a job and get a little briefcase and move out. You're never going to see Mr. Dog again. That would make you sad. And I guess that's kind of what parents feel like too. Alright, so we're getting our, definitely getting our little water going. Yeah, look at that. That's beautiful. And it flows nice, which I like. It kind of makes it look like a little waterfall stream, which definitely is an aesthetic. Like we want our place to look natural, but we don't want it to look natural at the point of not being able to get through it and navigate it. So yeah, one of the things I'm definitely going to love is once we start getting the diamonds and we can start getting full diamond tools and we can get the EMC machines going, start getting enchanted stuff. See, look, they're drinking the water. That's so adorable. Alright, I'm pretty sure these goats will most likely be able to mate soon, and we will definitely have some more baby goats. I need to make a pair of shears so that I can shear them as we go. But it does not look like we have a male cow. So we need a male cow. I don't know the genders on the pigs. I haven't figured out a way to actually tell the genders on the pigs. So we're probably just going to have to grab like 3 or 4 other pigs and hope one of them is a male or female depending on what we have. And then we can definitely have some pigs breeding. The pigs aren't super useful because we do have to kill them for anything. The cows and the sheep we can at least milk. Well, the sheep we don't milk, but we shear them. So everything's useful other than the pigs. The pigs are just there to kind of even out our, even out the diversity. Also, we have a bunch of unidentified eggs, which basically if we can make a, I think they're called incubators. Yeah. We make an incubator, we can basically find, it will incubate the eggs, but there's also an identifier, I think. Let me look. Alright, so exotic birds. I'm just gonna have to scroll up, I think. Alright, so... Oh, there's also wired fences, electric fences, steel bars, and bar fences. And bird perches. This is all part of the animal. The zoo and animals rebuilt mod. But right now we're looking for the bird one. And these are the Pams, which actually I need to set up some traps at some point, but we won't focus on that for right now. Also, this is like one of my favorite food things. Fried chicken! We could definitely have a KFC in our zoo. Definitely, you know, have the high-class KFC food. And these are the Mr. Crayfish mod, which we're definitely used to maybe decorate some of our exhibits. This is a hamster wheel, which I actually found out can actually send out an electrical current, which I find hilarious. Like, imagine you set up like 100 of these little hamster wheels, you get a tamed hamster, and you just have them powering your machine setup. That just sounds hilarious to me. You can start seeing, this is mud, which actually the pigs will like swim in and stuff, which is kind of funny. And you can actually make different types of cheese from the different types of animals. And these are all the varieties, right? So draft horse stallion, draft horse mare, draft horse foal, alpine kid. And if you don't know what a kid is, that is basically a baby goat. That's what they call them. Like foals are baby horses, right? A kid is a baby goat. And the buck is a male, doe is a female. And these are basically the sheep. Fainting buck is a fainting goat. Ram is, of course, the male version of a sheep. And ewe, or ewe, however you say it, is a female sheep. And then the lamb is the baby, of course. Yeah. And then I'm pretty sure we have a bunch of rabbits, too. So many animals, honestly. So many animals. Alright, so let's scroll up. We're after the birds mod. And we have yet to come. We just hit vanilla. Where is the birds mod? Huh, that's funky. Because I'm pretty sure there's spawn eggs for the different types of birds in the exotic birds mod. Definitely have a lot of Pam's recipes, like if you didn't notice. A lot of crops, a lot of trees. It's definitely going to be fun. Okay, so oh, here it is. We had passed by it. All right, egg identifier. That's what it's called. We're gonna need one of these to identify those mysterious eggs. And the best egg we can hope for is if we get a phoenix egg. And phoenixes are the mystical creatures, like if you've ever watched Harry Potter, it's like the phoenix there. They're born from their ashes. They're infinite. We can put saddle on it and we can ride it, which sounds awesome. They are really rare though, so, you know. It will be something if we manage to get 2 phoenixes and set them up in an exhibit. We'll definitely have some mystical animals, which will definitely make our zoo more entertaining. All right, what was I in here for? We did the water. We did the other stuff. What were we after? Oh man, I lost my train of thought talking about other stuff. This happens so often. I need to like get a notebook for my mind and just like sticky note everything I was supposed to do. I think we were gonna look for more animals if I remember right. Yeah, let's go do that. Let's go see if that goat's still there. Like the little baby goat. I feel bad kind of leaving him there all by his little self. So let's see if we can find some more animals. Oh, on our way, let's clear a path through these trees because they were kind of a pain getting the animals back to our base. Let's try and use up these stone tools first though. It will take a little longer to do it with the stone one, but at the same time, we are getting rid of stuff we're not going to really use. So this tree is wide enough apart that I don't have to worry. These two are pretty close though, so let's take one of these babies out. We're gonna have to get one of the villagers. We're gonna have to set up a safety commission, and his job is going to be to come out here and chop down the trees. And if you're asking, well, who's gonna be on the safety commission? He's going to be the safety commission. He's going to come out here and basically do the trees. If we had more people in the village, we could probably afford to have a safety committee, but since we don't, he is definitely just going to be our he's just going to be our safety guy basically. His whole job will revolve around him going out here and basically ensuring that we have a safe environment. Yeah, I feel like a few of them might get eaten by tigers or lions or maybe even a jaguar if we're gonna like, you know, switch it up a little bit and we don't want them getting devoured by the same animals. So definitely they're going to get paid a lot, but that's mainly because we're going to go through so many of them and no one's going to want the job unless they get paid lucrative amounts of money. Oh man, I probably should have deposited more of my stuff. Oh, we do not have the inventory room. Yeah, I probably should have put these fences back because we're not going to be making another exhibit for a while. Let's run back real quick before we're too far out. Probably take this out as well. Don't want to get too far out and have our inventory full in case we come across something really nice, you know. Probably just store all these stone tools because they are just eating room in our inventory, honestly. Store them in the storage shed and we don't have to worry about that. Alright, so let's toss these puppers in. Alright, there you go, there you go. We'll keep the hoe on us because the animals do trample our crops a lot. And we'll keep mainly these ones. Definitely throw the fences in there. We're gonna keep this on us. The talisman will definitely heal up our stuff, so it's gonna prove infinitely useful. And then the dirt, we're gonna keep the dirt because I do want to make a kind of underground farm, basically safe from these animals eating it. And it will also produce a lot of EMC before we get the flowers going. And you'll hear me talk a lot about EMC, and it is going to be a very core part of our mod. It will basically be the magic production mod that we're going to use, which if you're not familiar with Project E or EMC, EMC is basically the value of an item. So wood has an EMC value. One piece of wood has an EMC value of 32. A stack of oak wood has an EMC value of 60. What? That's not right. Oh, it's because I stacked it. Okay. So basically, if you times 32 by 64, that will give you the actual stack EMC. But because I only have 2 of them, it only counted the 2 of them. It wasn't actually counting a whole stack. But basically, items with high EMC value are worth a lot. Diamonds are close to 7,000, 8,000 EMC. So it takes a lot of smaller items to equal the amount that a diamond does. And that's kind of the drawback of EMC, but also the great thing. Because imagine that you could turn stacks of oak wood into a diamond. Or you could make a stack of glass and take oak wood, just regular wood, and turn it into glass. Like, you know, that's kind of an alchemist's dream, to be able to transmute, to change objects from one state into another. So the EMC mod is basically like alchemy. It's gonna be our witchcraft mod. If you wanna label it something, then it is definitely considered witchcraft. So we're gonna keep going. I see a lot of owls. They're just watching us from the woods. See the ostrich. There's definitely a lot of zebras. I like all the zebras. They're so cute. They walk so fun. Look at him. He walks so funny. Can you walk again? Oh, they're making the noises too. They walk so funny. I like all the variations though. And is that a baby? It is a baby. It is a brown and black baby. Oh, you're so cute. I kind of want to steal it, but at the same time, I don't want to take it from its parents, because that would be mean. All right, so it looks like our little baby goat is starting to grow. So let's grab you. Come on. Hello. We're gonna take you to a new home. Yeah, you're gonna like your new home. All right, let's get up on the shore. Come on. All right, so it's just one, so we should have an easier time getting him back versus his parents. Also, it's not night, so he's actually walking. It's kind of cute. Look at his little animations. He's just walking as fast as he can. He's just like, I'm gonna go. No, don't attack him, Mr. Owl. It looks like the owl is trying to befriend him, but I don't know if he's actually trying to attack him. We don't want you to attack Mr. Goat. I don't think a goat in real life would try and take a baby goat, unless there was maybe a few of them, but they are kind of predatory. And most predatory animals, unless it's like a part of their hunting system, they don't like other predators in their areas. Like lions, they hunt in packs, but it's usually the female lions. It's kind of like that with herd animals too. There are a few herd animals that don't like being alone with other herd animals, but there's a lot that are dependent on herd animals. It's kind of like that if you get a pet, you know? Like if you go and get a ferret pet and you only get one, they usually get lonely because they want another ferret. But there's other rodents who do not like having other rodents in their cage. Like they're like, no, I don't want a roommate. Get out of here. So our animals are all sleeping because it is nighttime. I do have wheat. So let's go ahead and fill the bin. It's best to fill it at night because the animals will chase after the wheat and you'll accidentally click on them trying to fill the troughs. And the troughs actually are compatible with auto machines and stuff like that. I did not put any machines in this mod pack. It always takes a lot of effort for me to kind of get the idea of energy mods and things of that nature, but I definitely am open to trying a more technical mod when we're doing something other than dealing with animals, because animals don't really need a lot of technology. We can keep it kind of simple. Alright, so I do not see any more. Oh, there's a koala. I don't think that's Houdini. That's too far from our place. I mean, if Houdini got out this far, I'm amazed. Pretty sure that's just another koala. I'm trying to see if we can snag any other animals. I would definitely love another sheep or a cow. I'm not really caring about the pig. If I see a pig, I'll grab it, but it's not high on my need. I need it. I need a category. Like, they're nice to have, but they're not absolutely essential to her. Oh, look, it's a cream one. They're so cute. I will definitely love having an exhibit of these guys. They'll be so cute. So cute. Alright, so let's see. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything. I'm seeing a lot of beehives, which I will eventually make a kind of yeah, I always screw it up. The thing we're gonna keep the bees in. That sounds so terrible. It starts with an A. Apiary? Yeah, apiary. But not the stuff not aviary, but an Man, it's like an enemy. I can't say an enemy either. Man, I'm just having lots of speech problems today. Basically, we can use it to get the larvae and stuff like that from Pam's. You can also get honey and things like that. Which I guess if we want to have honey sold in our little store in the zoo, we could definitely have that. I'm using the treetops right now because I got a little bit lost. Like, I'm seeing the village on my map, but I got a little bit lost. That's kind of why I'm up in the trees. But probably should jump down now that I kind of know where I am, because I can see the village. And at night seems like the best time to like roam around and stuff like that, because the animals will be asleep, so it might be easier to spot them. But we definitely, if there's any predators around, they're probably already eaten the passive, so we gotta kind of net them before the carnivores eat them, basically. Oh, I saw a little birdie, but I don't know where he went. Oh, look, it's a hummingbird. Okay, so these guys are really hard to see unless you're really paying attention. But there he is. He's just whizzing around. They're so tiny. So tiny. They're cute, though. They're definitely cute. And then we got a little meerkat here. Hello, Mr. Meerkat. Meerkats are kind of cute, but they're also kind of... I don't want to say weird, because there's a lot weirder animals in the animal kingdom. Like hyenas are pretty weird. I'm not going to go into why they're weird, but let me tell you, you just look up some facts about hyenas and you're going to be weirded out. But they're definitely up there in the kind of... A lot of people seem to like them. Like, they kind of think of them as the African kind of dogs. Oh, definitely. Okay, so this is a male. So he has a ring in his mouth. So he is definitely a male. Are these gators? I think these are gators. Oh, man. I hope... No, don't attack me. Oh, look, there's two of them. They're little gator. Okay. Oh, no. Don't want to lead them to the cows, because they'll murder the cows. No. Come on. Chase me into the water. I wonder if I can ditch these guys, or they just swim really fast. They don't swim super fast. It'd be kind of creepy if they did. I know in Dr. Jark's Mo Creatures, if you come across a crocodile, they'll actually roll you in their mouth. Like, when they capture your thing and you go into F5, you can watch as they spin your character, which is actually something they do in the wild as well. They will actually do a spin with prey in their mouth. But it does not seem like it's on here. I wanted to do Dr. Jark's originally, but the issue I was coming across was the fact that I don't have a beefy enough graphics card. Like, with all these animals that are being spawned here, it still doesn't compare to the amount of mobs we get when we're playing Mo Creatures. And I just don't have a beefy enough graphics card. I don't have a beefy enough computer to be loading in all those animals, all those entities, all of that stuff that comes with it. So we're basically making Mo Creatures if you do not have an optimal gaming computer, because Mo Creatures takes a lot out of your PC. A lot. And I just do not have the specs on this baby to be able to do. If I had like a $3,000 computer with optimal specs, I definitely would be playing it. But this PC is nowhere near that price point. I think if I remember right, I got this computer on sale for like $600, $500, and that was basically my Christmas present to myself for that year. Or I should say it was my husband's gift, Christmas present to me for that year. Come on. But even this PC, I've had a few problems with it. Mainly software problems, not so many hardware problems. I did have a problem though. When we went to Florida for his work, the airport actually kind of... It took me 2 weeks to be able to get the computer back into running condition because they rough-handled his computer so bad that they actually bent the frame so bad that now one of the panels won't go back onto it. And we tried to file for damages and stuff like that, but the airport people were just... It was not a pleasant experience. They were not, they weren't very helpful, and they weren't very nice, honestly, if I'm gonna be honest. Like, I sat on that call with that lady for like an hour, and I could tell she like just didn't care at all. Like, you know how sometimes when you call into a place, like, I don't know if anybody's ever had a Dell computer and you call into the place and you can like get one of those people and you can tell that they're like so done with their job, but at the same time they need their job, but at the same time, if they could, they would like burn that place to the ground. That's how I kind of felt when I was talking to the lady at the airport. I felt like she needed the job, but at the same time, if she could, she would burn that place to the ground. Like, she just didn't care. Alright, so we got the cows back, which is good. I really did want the cows. And we now have a male, and we have a third female, and they can interbreed. So let's hope this male just starts producing babies, because that's what I want. I want this pasture filled with cows. Alright. Also, a curious thing is that you can only milk cows and sheep when they have a baby. So we can't actually milk the female cow right now. Or she might have actually had a baby before we left. I saw her giving hearts. We can actually test and see if we can milk her. Because if we can milk her, we can. Okay, so we milked her. Let's see if we can milk any of these other ones. No, you're not going to let us milk you. No. Wonder if... Oh, okay, we got a goat. So basically, if we go and grab some carrots real quick and make another trough, we can go ahead and make some slop for the pig so that he's not all sad and hungry all by himself, you know? Because like I said, he's not a pure focus because there's not too much that the pigs give us, but we are going to take care of the animals that we do have. You know, we're not going to be bad animal keepers just because the pigs aren't super useful to us. Doesn't mean we got to neglect them, you know? So we're basically... Alright. And the villagers are just, everywhere. Alright. I think they're still mad about my legislation choices. They don't like the choices I'm making with my legislation. They don't see it as a valid form of government. But let me tell you, monarchies are a thing, buddo. So yeah, they're still a little angry, which is understandable. I did take over their village by force, but you know, I have weapons and they don't, so ha 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 ha, I win. That sounds so terrible. I sound like a military dictator, but honestly, if you think about it in Minecraft, you just like come into a world and you just take it over, and that's like honestly the whole plot, which I guess is a social commentary on the kind of like manifest destiny, how you can just like take what you want and you can justify it later, but like when you're taking it, you're just taking it because you want it. You're not taking it because you necessarily need it. You're taking it because you want it and you have the power to take it. Alright, so rip. Lightning struck. Oh man, I think the villagers were doing some black magic and they conjured their their polytheistic god to smite me. Ha, joke's on you. Your god has no power over me, villagers. I don't want to get too religion-y. I just think it was kind of funny how literally we were walking out of the house and lightning struck. Oh man, that kind of was funny. Alright, so the pigs over here, I'm thinking this guy over here, I think he will definitely benefit from having some pig troughs right here next to him. Alright, so the pig should search out his food, hopefully. And it's not too far from him, so he should find it a-okay. Alright, I'm grabbing the eggs. I also, at some point, I do want to clip up the more interesting points of the video and put it into like a clips and collection until I can build a bigger, I don't want to say demographic, but at least a decent sized viewer. Because like so far, I mainly have, I think I'm at 2 following. I put my goal for September to try for 100, but honestly, I'd be happy with 50. If I could get 50 people, I'm planning on trying to stream on the weekdays. So weekends, you probably won't see a lot of content from me because that's when a lot of other streamers stream as well. So there will be a lot of content to compete with. But during the weekdays, I'd like to do it. I'd like to do it later in the day. But at the same time, I feel like I'd be competing with a lot of people. So I might just stick to doing it early mornings because I don't think a lot of people like streaming early in the morning. So we'll see how it goes. Alright. So we got cows. We definitely need a male sheep, but honestly I think I want to focus on mining now. Like we've done a lot. We've done a lot to getting our homestead to more of a home. We're definitely gonna have to chop more trees down. Like that's a given. I'm wondering if I should wait until we start getting some diamond tools so I can actually have some efficiency to chop down these trees better. Or if I should just sit here and just like slowly whittle away at the trees. Like it's nice that it takes them out, but it just takes so long to just break the one log to take the whole baby out, you know? Like it'd be nice if it did it instantly. Oh look, gosh, he just got his head. He's like, what are you doing? What are you doing? This is my house. Well, it's not your house anymore, bud. Took it over. I should totally make a royal decree that like nobody can do anything because everything's mine. I wonder if I could actually like if villagers were sentient, if they'd actually like try and make an uprising against me, because I think that would be amusing. To make it, I don't want to say like make it like Civ, but at the same time it'd be kind of like Civilization, where basically I do all these actions over here and then eventually like a group of villagers across the world learns of my deeds and decides they need to take me out. Because I would totally put in a mod to get like a secret weapon, like a unicorn. I mean, I'd settle for a dragon too. I mean, honestly, Game of Thrones, Daenerys is pretty much, you know, even when her dragons were a baby, she definitely solidified her thing. I'm not gonna give any spoilers about the recent seasons, but like if you haven't watched any of the seasons, I mean, there's not too much I can do. You've probably seen it in media though. Like honestly, a lot of the HBO promos and stuff like that, you see her dragon. Like you see Drogon. He's massive. He is just a big boy. The biggest boy. He's cute though. Like he definitely, like in the books, he was my favorite. I would say my next favorite was Viserion, just because of the cream and gold coloring that he was described with in the books. He was so cute. And then Rhaegal was like my third favorite. You know, he's kind of like the one that's there that no one cares about. Which sounds terrible, because Dany does love her dragons. I actually was kind of bummed out that they didn't do more with Rickon's storyline. Because in the books, they talked about a division, or like a group of northerners who are considered to be cannibalistic, who have unicorns. And I totally would have loved to see that in Game of Thrones, to see some icy unicorns. Like that would have been amazing, honestly. But I know the CGI budget with, you know, the dragons and everything else was super high. So they couldn't make dragons, but like definitely when they make these off series and stuff like that, if they could incorporate the unicorns in it, I think that would be a very nice avenue to go down, because there's not too much media you see. Like I remember when I was growing up, I read maybe 2 books that had stuff about unicorns. Like one was called, I think it was called it wasn't Sun Chaser series, but Sun Chaser was like the main unicorn. And it was basically like a series about a girl who, she finds out, what was it? oh, it's been so many years. Basically, like, she finds out about the unicorns and stuff like that. And she basically, with the help of Sunchaser, who's like the main unicorn she encounters, she like goes about helping him to get rid of the threat to the unicorns. I can't remember what the exact threat was. I read this like when I was probably, oh, I can't even guess what age I was. I was really young, but that was like the first unicorn book I ever read. And I was super into it as a kid. Like, I loved horses as a kid, and unicorns were just, like, a natural segue into, like, the kind of mystical horses that were out there. There was also, like, hippocampuses, which are kind of cool. The Irish mythology, they have, they're not called silkies. It's a basically, like, this dark-figured horse that would go around on moonlit nights, and basically, he's, like, coal black, and like, if you rode him, like, drunk people, when they would think they were getting their horse, they'd get on his back and then he'd go drown him in like a shallow pond. Like, he was a pretty hardcore little horsey. But yeah, that was like the kind of mythologies I was always interested in, with the horses and stuff like that. Dragons are kind of cool. I can admit that. Like, I definitely love the dragons in Game of Thrones. I'm not so stoked on dragons in other media. A lot of people who are actually dragon fans will probably be like, well, dragons in Game of Thrones only have 4 limbs versus like real dragons have 6 limbs because they have their wings and their arms. I think giving them that many limbs is just way too much. Okay, like that. Like, imagine flying octopus. Like, they have 8 limbs and they're flying around in the sky. Okay, that's just way too much of a home field advantage, you know? If I see an 8-tentacled, flying, fire-breathing monster of a squid, I'm just gonna go back in my house and I'm just gonna hope that something comes along to kill that, because I'm definitely not gonna be out there dealing with that. That's just way too much to deal with. I think at some point I put a poll out. I wanted to see if anybody wanted to make, because they have the tip jar where you tip the bits and the donation thing. I was thinking about doing a tip jar, but one for topics, where as long as the topic's appropriate, it's not going to give me like banned off Twitch. It would be kind of like the game. If you've ever played the game where you're like with a friend and they say a word and you have to tell them like the first thing you think of. Like, they just say a word. Like, for instance, they say rainbow. And you have to try and think about like the first thing that pops into your head. Like, you don't just pick the correlating word. But like when you hear the word rainbow, what do you think of, you know? Like, kind of like a correlation game. So like for me, when I think about rainbows, I think about the time that it was my little brother and my little sister, and I'm about 8 or 9 years older than them, and we were sitting on the porch one day. I know we were outside, and they saw a rainbow for the first time, and I had forgotten that it was like the first time for them seeing a rainbow, but for me, I'd seen quite a few rainbows actually. So I wasn't as mystified as they were, but they were convinced that they could find the end of the rainbow if they followed it, right? So we were on a property, I want to say it was close to 32 acres, and they weren't very good riders. So we opted to walk on the trails that we had, and we walked to where they thought the rainbow would end, because they swore up and down they could find a leprechaun and beat him up for his gold. Like, they didn't just want to ask him nicely for his gold, they wanted to beat him up. Like, they were straight up going to rob a leprechaun of his gold at the end of the rainbow, which I thought was kind of hilarious, because to me the idea that these kids were basically thinking at their age that they weren't going to ask nicely, they were just going to take his gold and he wasn't going to be able to do anything, like, that really made me kind of just chuckle to myself. Like, you really think you're just going to sit there and kidnap a leprechaun and force him to give you your gold? Like basically the child version of a theft. But they weren't gonna kill him. Like they weren't that old that they kind of understood the concept of death. They were just like, if he doesn't give us the money, we're gonna shank him. But they didn't really understand what shanking meant. So we follow it. We get to a little clearing. This was a clearing that our horses, like a lot of the times when I let them out of the pasture and they would free roam, this was a pasture land that they liked to go to a lot because it was really rich. The soil was really nice. There was a little pond around it. So the soil was really rich in the nutrients and stuff like that. So, you know, we got there and basically I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh man, you know, where's the leprechaun with the gold? And they're like, we could have sworn it ended right here. And they look back up at the sky and, you know, we'd been so focused on finding the rainbow that they didn't realize that the rainbow was already gone, right? So basically they're bummed out. They're like all sad and kind of downtrodden because they had set out on a mission and now their mission was pretty much, you know, it's a little bit over. I think I'm gonna try and mine up towards Y elevation 12, see if I get lucky. So, you know, they set out on a mission. They really wanted this, you know, like, you know, they're kind of stoked. And so I had remembered I used to keep some, I don't want to say mementos because I've never been a big memento person, but I did have a bunch of that what is it called, fake chocolate gold that you can get for like $1 that gives you like a whole little bag of the fake gold. So we were walking back to the house and you know, I waited till later in the evening, like around the time that they were going to bed, and I snuck into their rooms and I put a bunch of the fake gold, not under their pillow because then it would melt and that'd be gross and I don't want to have to clean that up, but I put it basically on like where they'd see it in the morning, and I waited till like the next morning basically, and I always woke up first. Like they were younger than me, so they weren't expected to have the same kind of responsibilities that I had, like taking care of the animals, waking up, going out there, and like, you know, basically, I don't want to say, I'm trying to think of a good term for it. Because if I say the term I want, a lot of people will be like, oh, you're just saying that. But like, honestly, it was like having a job at the age of 11 or 12, where basically I'd wake up early in the morning, I'd walk out to where the animals were, and I would, depending on what day of the week it was, like about twice weekly, I had to clean out their troughs. And we had about 2 50-gallon troughs, which if you don't know how big 50-gallon troughs are, just go to your local Tractor Supply Co. and you can kind of get an idea. Like, you could fit like 2 or 3 people in there, but like it wouldn't be like a jacuzzi feel. It'd be more or less like an old-fashioned bathtub. But the 50-gallon tanks, especially like during the week, because of the sunlight and the water, and when the horses eat, they don't always, you know, they're not humans. They're not going to like wipe their faces, so their hay will get into the water. And like a good amount of algae will basically build up. So pretty much every week I'd have to go out there. The gallon would be low, or just basically have to sit there and manhandle it until I could basically tip it over. And then once it's tipped over, I basically scrub it out, basically, so that the horses have a clean source of water. And we didn't want them coming down with something, because having tainted sources of water that they're drinking from and stuff like that, especially because we had a few older ones and we had a few young ones, you know, we didn't want them coming down with anything. So we definitely made sure they had a lot of clean water and stuff like that. But I remember that day I didn't have to do the troughs thing, so I didn't have to go out an hour early. So mainly I was near the house. Like, I could hear them when they would wake up, because we'd keep the windows open because we didn't have air conditioning. Like, we lived out in the boonies. Like, our nearest neighbor was the state trooper who lived about a mile behind us. All right, so we were out in the boonies. We had electricity through generators. We had water through wells. Okay, like we weren't super on the grid. So I heard them wake up. I heard the squeal of them getting excited because they had found what I left for them under their pillows. And basically I go inside to see what the ruckus is, and they're like, the leprechaun gave us his gold because we found the rainbow. And I thought that was like the cutest thing they could have drawn. Like, they didn't put together that someone else had put it there. I think that's kind of like the innocence of children, is that they can draw completely they have good leaps of logic, all right? So they didn't logically think that one of us had put it in their rooms. They had thought that the leprechaun had tracked us down to our house, put the gold on their little nightstand, and then just left. Like, that was their logic. And to me, that was kind of like, I just sat there and I just laughing. And they're like, Sissy, why are you laughing? And I was just like, yep, you found his gold. He paid you. And I was just, in my head, I was just laughing so hard, because to me, I thought they would figure out that I had given it to them, and they would have just been happy that I had given to it. But at the same time, it kind of made it feel more special that they actually thought that it was a real leprechaun, had like basically stalked us to our house and gave us his gold. Like, I think that was a cute story. Like, I have some cute stories of my two siblings, but I also have some dark tales. Like, not dark in the sense that, like, something terrible happened, but definitely, like, they were kids and they had irrational fears. Like, another one I can think of is, watermelon seeds, the little black ones? When you eat them, they tell you that you're supposed to you're not supposed to digest them. They're not good for you and stuff like that. A lot of times what they'll tell children is that if you eat the watermelon seeds, it will put a watermelon baby in you. And so this was one story I told my little sister. I thought it was kind of funny. And I told her, I was like, you eat the black seeds in the watermelon, and you're going to have a watermelon baby. And she was like, and I'm going to poop it out, because kids, they don't know how reproduction works. And I was like, yeah, you're going to poop out a watermelon baby. All right? Another thing to note is, especially as a child, I really did love watermelon. Like, it was my favorite fruit. Like, I wasn't a big fruit or veggie eater as a kid, but I loved watermelon. Like, honestly, when I was a kid, I could probably eat a whole watermelon by myself. As an adult, I can maybe eat a few pieces before I'm full. But as a kid, I could just pack away a whole watermelon, right? So one day, my little sister, I guess she had eaten too much watermelon, and she gets a really bad tummy ache. And I was trying to tell her to go lay down, and she looks at me, and I don't know why, but she had this look of instant fear in her eyes, and she runs to the bathroom, right? And I go in to check on her after about like 5 or 10 minutes, and she hasn't come out to make sure everything's all right, because she was still young enough that, I didn't want to she was past the potty training age, but I just wanted to make sure she was still feeling all right, because she got the tummy ache from. I was making sure she wasn't throwing up. And I knock at the door, and I'm like, hey, you okay? And she's like, go away. And I'm like, well, you need some more time? She's like, no, go away. You're not going to kill my baby. And I was confused for a second, because I thought maybe she meant her dolls, because she did have some of those baby dolls, like they give little girls to like take care of and stuff like that. And I was trying to figure out why she thought I was going to take her baby doll. So I'm like, I'm not going to take your baby. She's like, yeah, you're going to take my watermelon baby. I want to keep him, and you're going to eat him. And then it dawns on me that the tummy ache she thought was linked to her accidentally eating some of the black seeds. So she thought she was going to have so she basically was sitting there thinking she was going to have a watermelon baby. And she's afraid that I'm going to eat the baby after she gives birth to it. Which, on one level, kind of saddens me, but on the other level, like, I'm laughing internally, because that's probably the funniest thing I've ever thought that she could think of. Because, in all honesty, when I was raising, with me and my siblings, we were growing up, because I was so much older than them, and we were in a dysfunctional family, a lot of the time I had to be the adult. I had to be the one that sat there and looked out for them and took care of them when our parents weren't around, right? So it was kind of weird to me that she would think that she wasn't safe with me because she would have a watermelon baby and I would eat it. But at the same time, it kind of annoyed me because, all the time, our dysfunctional parents would always tell me, they're your responsibility. You need to take care of them, be a good daughter, take care of your younger siblings, all the stuff that they always tell the oldest child, you know. You gotta look out for your siblings, you gotta be there for them, you gotta do everything for them, right? So it hurt, and at the same time it was kind of funny to me that she actually thought I was gonna eat her kid. So, you know, I leave her alone. I'm like, you know, 5-10 minutes go by, and I decide to go back. You know, she's been in there long enough. She needs to get out. We had 2 bathrooms, but the other bathroom was in our parents' room, and we weren't really supposed to go into the parents' room, and my little brother had to go to the bathroom. So I knock at the door, and I'm like, you know, you need to get out. You know, our little brother needs to go to the bathroom. Can you get out? And she's like, no, you're gonna kill my baby. and our little brother had not heard this dialogue till now, and he's like, what are you talking about? Like, he's confused. And so she proceeds to tell, or, you know, my little sister proceeds to tell my little brother through the wall that she's about to give birth to a watermelon baby, and that once she gives birth to it, I'm going to take it and I'm going to eat it. So my little brother, being the kind of, I say monster, but like at that age, especially because they were 2 years apart, right? They spent all their time together and stuff like that. And he took this as an opportunity to mess with his little sister. And he says, yeah, we're going to eat that baby. I hope it's a big one since you've been in there a while. And I just look at my little brother, and he's just smiling. He's got the biggest smile on his face. Like, he's loving the idea. He's like, I'm going to go get the knife real quick, and we're gonna cut that baby up and eat it. He's like, it's gonna be yummy. And my little sister, we can hear her, she starts crying, like crying hysterically, because she thinks we're actually gonna eat her baby. Like, she thinks she's gonna give birth to this watermelon baby. And now my little brother is acting like he's going to, like, he makes it sound like he walks away. You know how, like, you can make the stomping noises and act like you're actually leaving, but you're not? He basically did that outside the door. And then he went over to the living room, and he acted like he was opening up drawers. And he's like, where is that knife to cut the watermelon? Like, he's being such a little monster, honestly. And she's just crying. Like, I can hear her. You know, I'm trying to calm her down. I'm like, we're not going to eat it. He's joking. She's like, that's what you would say if you wanted to eat my baby. So she's definitely, like, she's scared. She's scared because she thinks she's actually going to have a baby. And that's what I learned. You probably shouldn't tell kids things like that, because then they'll actually take it literally. So it took about another hour, basically, of trying to talk her through it, be like, no, you're not gonna have a baby and all this stuff. And her argument was always the same thing. That's what you would say if you wanted to eat my baby. Like, that was her whole train of thought, was that I was still trying to get at her baby, and I was just trying to lure her out so that I could eat the baby. Like, you know, like, that was the whole thing. And it was pretty wild, honestly. Like, just sitting there and trying to, like, talk. I'm pretty sure she was about, I don't want to say, I want to say 5 or 6. No, she couldn't be 5 or 6, because I was about 12. Okay, so she was maybe 4 or 5. Like, she knew how to do most things on her own. And yeah, pretty much I was basically doing hostage negotiations with a 4 to 5 year old through a door about how I wasn't going to eat her babies, but she could, like, she was convinced I just wanted her to open that door so I could get her babies. So finally, I had my enough. I was done waiting, you know. This had gone on long enough, and I knew I was going to get in trouble if I didn't get her out soon. So I distracted her. Like, I took my brother into another room, and she thought I just left. I went into another room with my little brother, and I'm like, I have a mission for you. And, like, my little brother, I don't know why, but besides messing with my little sister, he wanted to be in the military. Like, as a little kid, he loved watching documentaries, like war and stuff like that. We got him a bunch of tanks, like, you know how, like, kids like the little Tonka trucks and stuff like that. He didn't want Tonka trucks. He wanted tanks. Okay, so from a very young age, he really he loved watching military movies and stuff like that. So I talked to him and I'm like, "Here's your mission." And he squats down, he looks up at me. You know, he's a little older than she is. So he's about 7 or 8, right? And I look at him, I'm like, "Here's the game plan." So I tell him, I'm like, "I'm going to distract her at the door, and I want you to go." We have this kind of stool outside that we use to get into the chicken coops. The chicken coops, we actually made them ourselves. So they had latches on the top where you could open them. And there used to be a little stool because sometimes Silas and Shay, to help out, I would let them go into the chicken coops because they like playing with the chickens and they grab the eggs for us. I told him to take the little stool, shove it up against the window, and then climb in. And his job was basically going to be to unlock the door because I only had 2 options. I either had to get into that room that she had locked by either breaking the door down or sneaking in. So I asked my little sister, I was like, "So you're going to be in there a while?" I was like, would you like to listen to some music?" And she's like, can you play that song I like? And the song she was talking about was, what was it, Cotton Eye Joe, I think? So I played it really loud, like I turned it up intentionally so she wouldn't hear my little brother basically breaking in through the bathroom window. Like, she's in the bathroom with him, but she, you know, she's facing the door, she's talking to me, you know, she's engaged with me. She's not hearing him break in through the tub. And by the time she hears the sound of the window lifting up, you know, she turns around. She's like, "How are you in here?" And my little brother, he unlocks the door and he rolls out. Like, he doesn't just, like, it's not like a sideways roll. Like, he literally does like a little front flip and like rolls out of the bathroom. And he's like, "Target secured." And I'm just sitting there and I'm like, man, that's probably the highlight of his youth, was that sometimes, especially when Shay would do things like, I don't want to say she locked herself in the bathroom a lot, but when we had stuff like that, he definitely, like, I could tell him to do something, and if I acted like it was a secret mission and he was like a little secret agent, or you know, he had to be a secret military man, he'd totally be on board with it. Even if I told him it was just like cleaning his room, if I made it sound interesting enough, he would do it. Just because he'd be like, "Okay, that's my objective." I was like, "Yep, you get your objective," and he would do it. And I always thought it was like the cutest thing, because like at that age they're super cute. They grew up to be, you know, little monsters, but like at that age they were super adorable. But yeah, I remembered that, and it was just always with my little sister. She always took things too literally. She was very trusting. Like, you could tell her something and she would never question whether you were lying to her or if you were telling her the truth. So yeah, it always was kind of funny to me that she always believed everything. Because, like, you know, we lived out in the country, okay? There's a lot of people, like, especially one of our neighbors, you know, he used to do, I don't want to say tall tales, but he basically would talk about myths and stuff like that. You know, like, I remember one time he was, I don't think he was Native American, but he was talking about one of the myths of, like, the Native Americans and stuff believed. And I'm trying to think exactly what the name was, but it had something to do with a cougar. And it was like a cougar that could disguise itself or something. I don't remember the exact context. It was a long time ago. But my little sister, like, completely believed him. Like, she honestly thought that if she ever saw a cougar or a mountain cat, that it could disguise itself as other animals. And because we did live so far out that we did actually have issues with those kind of animals, like, you know, wolves and stuff like that. Especially our neighbor, he owned cattle. So he was definitely a prime target for wolves and mountain cats and stuff like that to go get at his cattle. So, you know, living out where we did, it wasn't like, oh, you know, we're in a city, there's no way a mountain lion's going to be out here. It was completely valid to, like, one day go out and see a mountain lion. Like, it wasn't too far out of the thing. I'm lucky that my two siblings didn't know how to ride, so a lot of the times they would just stay indoors. I mean, they play outside the house, which was decently safe. You know, we had a lot of livestock around us, but we never really had too much get attacked. Like, we used to have guinea fowl, which, if you don't know, and you look it up, guineas are these they're little birds. Well, I say little, but they're a little bit bigger than chickens. And they are African. They're African birds in descent. And basically when they walk around, they look like they're wearing little tuxedos. Like they walk around, they have like a little waddle. And it makes their plumage kind of look like they're in little tuxedos. And we used to keep a group of males. Basically, they were all males. They didn't attack each other or anything like that. They basically just patrol around our house. They'd comb the property and stuff like that. And we'd always know if we had a neighbor visiting, because as soon as something aggravated them, you could hear them. Like they could be deep in the woods and you would hear these guys. They were just so loud. They were so obnoxious. But they were great guard dogs, and they did very good work in keeping ticks away. But the way that we kept them from wandering off of our property was we had all the females in a pen. And basically the males, they'd get bored just sitting around the females, so they'd patrol around, but they would patrol around an area enough that they could come back to the females at night. So like they'd nest either up in the trees above where the females would sleep, but they never ventured too far away. But I remember my my little sister, she always when she was younger, she definitely wanted to be a fashionista. So I remember one day sitting there and she was asking me a lot about the guineas. She's like, why do they walk like that? And I was just like, that's how they walk, And she's asking me like a bunch of these questions that I wasn't super sure about at that age. Like I knew enough about them. I knew what they ate. I knew what they drank. I knew how to tell when they were sick. I knew what to do when they were sick. Things like that. But, she's sitting there asking me questions like, what color do you think they like best? And I'm just sitting there thinking, any? I don't even know if they can see in color, honestly, So I was just, I was like, they like any color. She's like, well, I wanted to make she's like, I wanted to make a hat for that one. And she like points to one of the guineas. And she's like, I think he'll look really nice in lilac. And I just look at her. And I'm like, a 6-year-old knows what lilac is. And I'm not completely sure what that color is, right? And she's like, I think if I make him a lilac hat, he'll really like it. And I could put some feathers in it, like put his feathers in it, and it will look really nice, and he can show it off to the other guineas. And I'm just sitting there kind of like laughing at the idea of her wanting to put on a fashion show for the other guineas. Like the fact that they would even know what's going on. Because honestly, I don't want to say they're dumb, because that's just kind of mean. To discount a species of being, stupid is just kind of mean. But honestly, like they weren't gonna care that she's dressing them up and stuff. I didn't think they'd even let her near like these things. Like guineas can actually fly, like they can fly straight up. Like I've seen them fly like 20 feet straight up. Like the guineas don't play around. So I knew if she actually tried to go out there and put a hat on him or anything like that, she'd seriously injure herself. Like I remember when we had some of the young guinea fowls, some of the younger ones ended up dying, and I'd have to go into the pens to get the dead guineas out so they didn't infect the healthy ones, and they'd attack. Like, if you think getting attacked by a Canadian goose is bad, wait till you get attacked by a guinea, because between the beak and the claws and the wings just hitting you, it's just a terrible feeling. But it just kind of amused me that she sat there thinking about whether they'd want to have, like, little outfits and stuff like that, and what would look best on them. That always just kind of made me laugh. Because when I was a kid, I didn't really think about those things. Like, I thought about animals. I thought about, like, food that they might like and things like that. But I never thought about dressing them up in outfits. Like, as an adult, I think that's, like, the funniest thing. Because, like, when we had cats, I tried dressing up my cats on several occasions. And let me tell you, cats do not like clothing. I know, like, some people out there are like, oh, well, some of the hairless cats or this breed and that breed likes likes clothing, and I'm like, okay, so a few out of a majority of cats like clothing. But let me tell you, I got torn up by all the cats that I tried dressing up, okay? My little sister tried getting feral cats and getting them outfits at some points, and I was just like, this is not going to end well. Because feral cats, like, especially if you have food, if they're hungry enough, they'll chance on coming to the food. But if you try and, like, you know, if they think they're in danger and you're trying to feed them, they will attack. They don't feel any remorse about that. And I always kind of thought it was adorable that my little sister would just sit there and try and get them to, like, have little outfits. Honestly, like, any animal in an outfit kind of makes me laugh. Like, I saw this, I don't know if this was actually meant as a joke or if they just did it because they wanted to, but there was a guy who bought an Italian suit for his horse. Like, I can't remember how much it cost. I know it was a lot, but he basically got, like, an Italian suit for his horse. And, excuse me. Basically dressed it up. And the horse actually, it looked nice in the pictures and stuff that I saw. And I was just like, man, I kind of, I never thought about that. Like, we had quite a few horses growing up. Like, if I remember, the most horses we ever had was like close to 25. And because we had so many, if you don't know, when animals like that are in such a large herd, they actually break off into sub-herds, all right? So a sub-herd is kind of like they'll follow the main herd if the main herd leader and the sub-herd leader are getting along, if that makes sense. So we had two main leaders of the different herds, and they didn't always like each other. I think that's like the nicest way I can put it. Like, they did not like each other. They both had really pretty babies, though. Like, the lead mare, she had really beautiful babies. She was a palomino, which basically means she looked like gold. Like, she had like a golden skin and stuff like that. So she was real pretty. And then the other one was basically she was like a chestnut colored mare, which means she was basically brown. Chestnut's just like a nice way of saying she was brown. And she had some pretty babies, but her babies were always really I don't want to say too athletic, but they were always really big because she was big. She was like half plantation walker, so she's basically half a draft horse, and the palomino was like a quarter horse. So her babies were like always really cute and colorful, and the other one's babies were like little tanks, like little tank horses running around. Okay, they got big hooves, they got big feet, and they also, like, I remember her first kid when we had her. We named her Peaches, and that was probably the most ill-mannered yearling I ever dealt with. She had a biting problem, she had a kicking problem, she had a being led around on a lead problem. Like, that horse just did not like anybody. And her mom was pretty mean-tempered, but she wasn't mean-tempered to humans. She was mean-tempered to other horses. That's what kind of made her a sub lead mare, was the fact that she basically bossed the other horses around. Like, she hated being alone, but when the other horses were around, she'd basically, like, she'd assert her dominance, if that makes sense. Like, she did not like to be alone, but if you were with her, it was her way or the highway. So a lot of the times we used to let our horses go free range. And if you don't know what free range is, it's kind of basically like what it sounds like. Like, our whole property was fenced in, all like 36 acres of it. And basically what I would do is I would open their pen and I'd let them graze during the day. And at, like, not dark is when we bring them in. I'd bring them in a little bit before sunset so that they could get their meal for the day. Because basically letting them walk around and graze like that helped them get their exercise, because not all of the horses could be ridden. Like, there were a few that were in riding condition, but some of them were basically living out the remainder of their lives. We had a few old horsies. And they were basically just pasture mates to the younger horsies and things like that. Like, we didn't want to euthanize them. And they didn't have any debilitating injuries, like they were lame or anything like that. It was just they were on in years, and tacking them up and dealing with all that stuff, it just wasn't good for them, you know? So, their exercise was gotten a lot from roaming around. We didn't let the super young ones out. Like, anything below a yearling we did not let free range, just because we didn't want the possibility of it attracting predators and such. But most of the time they'd all just kind of congregate in their two herds. So some would follow the one lead mare, the main lead mare, and then the other ones would follow the sub lead mare. And basically, as a kid, I learned how to track animals by figuring out the different paths that the horses would take. Because that many horses, they definitely do leave a bunch of imprints. And it's always easy to figure out which way they would go, because they'd go the same route, but they would diverge at the first turn. So some of the terrain. Some of the terrain was more uphill and hilly than other parts. And so the lead mare, she would always go the flat route. Like, she did not like dealing with all the hills and all the turns and things like that. But the sub lead mare, she was all game for it. You know, a draft horse like that, you know, their hooves are so massive, they don't really feel that kind of rocky terrain and stuff. So her herd tended to be the more able-bodied horses, while the lead mare tended to take some of the more rickety ones, you know, the older ones that weren't necessarily in prime shape. But the sub lead mare, she definitely had the support of all the yearlings. Like, all the yearlings loved following around after her, and they all listened to her, and she'd assert her dominance when they'd get out of line. And, you know, she'd basically take them very... I mean, they'd meet up sort of at the same place, but she'd graze off in the distance, because she and the lead mare didn't always get along. But we could put them in pins together. It's just when we gave them free rein, they would separate. But the female lead mare technically had dominated her, so she had to submit. Like, a lot with animals especially, there's a pack, like, especially herd and packs. Like with dogs, you have the one dog who's kind of the boss of the other dogs. It's kind of like that for horses as well. There's one horse who's basically the boss of the other horses, and the other horses listen to the boss, because if they don't, the boss will beat them up. And that was kind of the lead mare's role, was that she was the boss of the horses. And some people think, well, aren't traditional herds led by stallions and stuff like that? And in the wild, yes. And the truly wild horses, they do have a lead, basically a stallion, because a stallion won't permit other stallions in his herd. But on our farm, we had one stallion, and he was not kept with the horses, because he basically, if any of them came into heat or anything like that, he'd hurt the other animals. So he was kept by his lonesome, which is very typical of a male that isn't gelded. We had a few males that were gelded, which gelded means that they don't have their reproductive parts. It's kind of like when you get a dog and you get him neutered. A gelding is like a way of saying that you have a neutered horse. So we had some neutered males. And actually, a funny thing about horses, if you neuter them young enough, they don't ever realize that they're males. So we actually had two of them, and they never ever realized that they were males. Like, they always kind of thought they were females, which I always thought was kind of funny. That they, like, had no idea that they were a dude. They thought they were part of the girls. Because you can keep them with girls until they hit, like, sexual maturity, and then you have to separate them. And so the stallion always stayed by himself, but the mares pretty much ran the show. And even when, like, they were pregnant and stuff like that, those, you know, if one of the horses got out of line, the mares were always quick to nip it in the butt. And especially because most of their kids were a part of our herd, they didn't really have too much to deal with. Like, we always tried to keep fights and stuff like that from happening. But you know, in any system there's always a pecking order, and if another animal tries to upset the pecking order, tries to change the pecking order, you know, there's always consequences. But we rarely had that issue with our animals. They were pretty well behaved, honestly. Like, even considering the variety of animals we had, they were fairly well behaved. But yeah, I can't even remember how we got on this tangent, but it was kind of fun remembering all the fun stuff with the horses, because I really did love them. They were all so beautiful, so majestic too. I loved the boys that I had, like all the horses that we actually, like, that were ours alone, like we didn't own with somebody else, were all male. We had 3 horses in total, boys. The oldest was Rebel, that was his name. I forget, like, they actually had papered names, and if you don't know this about horses, their papered names are usually 2 characters. Like how your name could be Samantha, theirs would be like Samantha Mary or something. Like, they'd always have 2 parts to their name, and usually owners would call them by whatever part of their name was shorter or fit their personality best. So Rebel, I can't remember what the first of his name was on his papers, but we always just called him Rebel because that fit his personality the best. He always was rebelling. Like, the first time I went to put a saddle on him to get him used to, because like some people who've never done horse training and stuff like that, they think, oh, you know, they just, you know, like right out the gate, they want you to put a saddle on them and ride them. And that's actually not true. They have to get used to the idea of not being able to see someone, but know that they're on their back. And the best way to ease them into it, especially when they're not at the proper riding age, like you want to wait till horses are a certain age. You don't want to start riding them too early, because especially with different breeds, like some people with thoroughbreds, they can ride them early because the horses are actually larger than normal horses. But the horses that we had were Appaloosas, which are the spotted kind. And so for them, we waited till about 4 to 5 years of age before we actually started being able to put human adults on them. But from the age of like 2 and 3, we could let small riders, like basically the weight that a pony could bear, they could bear. But especially when I was first, I don't like saying the word breaking. Like, I don't know who came up with the term for breaking a horse, but it just sounds so terrible. Like, I'm breaking this horse, you know? Like, it doesn't conjure a nice idea or a nice picture in your head when you think, oh, that guy's breaking a horse. I much prefer the term of training, or, you know, just basically getting them out of the green stage. Because a lot of times with new horses and stuff like that, they're called green. They're called green, or there's another term. I'm trying to think of it. There's another term for basically new horses and things like that. And Rebel was the first one that we got to do because he was the oldest. And I remember the first time I put a saddle on him, like I brushed him out, you know, I made sure he was happy, and I put the blanket on him. The blanket's what goes under the saddle. That's the part that's usually decorated. And the blanket, it has fibers on it that you brush to go with the way that the horse's hair is, to prevent chafing and stuff like that. Like, you wouldn't want to wear a shirt inside out. A horse doesn't want to wear a blanket that isn't brushed out. So, you know, I brushed it out. I put it on his back. I waited for his reaction, and he had no reaction. Like, he didn't care. He just sat there, you know, he liked getting the brush, and he kept nuzzling me for more attention. So I got the blanket on easy enough, you know, I petted him some more. And then I walked over to our stand. We had a stand for the saddles, and I grabbed I think it was about 40 pound saddle. It was a Western saddle with a wide horn, which, if you don't know what a horn is, that's the part of the saddle that comes up. And the reason we had saddles like that was because we did sometimes do roping and rodeos, and Western saddles especially, are all about comfort and being able to sit in them. And having the saddle horn means that, like, you know, you have somewhere to grip. Like, English saddles do not really have anywhere to grip. And definitely you don't want to jump in Western saddles if you're actually going to be jumping super high. But if you're just jumping over like a fallen tree or something like that, the horn isn't going to affect you too much. But basically I put the saddle on him and I cinch it up. And I don't cinch it up super tight because at first you don't want to make it tight. It's kind of like for females how a corset, you know, like they kind of look like torture devices. You don't want to cinch it up super tight the first time, but you want to cinch it enough that he knows what it feels like. So I cinch it up, and then as soon as I finish cinching it up and I step back thinking he'll want me to pet him some more, he bolts. Like, he just runs past me and he literally just rolls over and almost crushes the saddle. And I'm just sitting there like, no, what are you doing? That's expensive. He's just sitting there. He's just rolling around trying to get the saddle off. Like, he does not like it. And so I have to run over and I get him up off the ground. He starts shaking his, like, you know, he's shaking all the dust off of him and stuff like that. And he wants to roll over again. So at that point, I go and I grab the cinch real quick before he can basically roll over again. I basically take the saddle off of him. And then, like, he still has the blanket on him and he's fine. Like, as soon as I took the saddle off, he was fine. I just sit there and I look at him and I was like, really? You had to do that? And he just kind of like, he looks at me and then he like snorts. Just like he's kind of horsey laughing at me. Like, he thinks it's funny that I freaked out. I'm just sitting there and I'm like, man, you're such a pain. And it was funny too because we did have another horse. His name was Streak. His full name was Blue Lightning Streak, I think. It was Blue something Streak. And we just called him Streak, honestly. He was probably the horse that my little sister loved the most, and my little brother kind of didn't think of as intimidating. Like, he was the smallest of the yearlings. Even though he technically had a little bit of thoroughbred in him, he should have been a little bit bigger, but he was actually a lot small. He was kind of like the runt, but horses don't actually have litters. They have, you know, they have one, maybe two if you have twins, but he was just kind of a runt. And I always remember, like, it's weird trying to describe what they look like. But imagine a really dark brown horse with a white butt. Like, he has a white splosh on his butt with tons. Like, you couldn't even count the amount of little brown and black spots on his butt, right? That would be Rebel. He was dark brown, almost black, with tons of spots all over his little butt. His mane was dark. And then imagine a light-colored horse who actually, like, the reason he got the name Blue is actually a term used for horse colors. And it doesn't, they're not like bright blue, but blue is kind of when a horse has a bunch of colors mixed into them. So he technically was kind of like a tri-horse. He had flecks of brown and white and gray and blonde and red. And, like, it wasn't like you could notice patches of a certain color. It just all blended in together, like a collage of colors. And he had a white butt as well because they call it a blanket on Appaloosas, and it tends to be more towards the rear. There are leopard Appaloosas, and that means they have spots all over their body, which you could probably look up, just like a leopard Appaloosa, and they're spotted all over their body. But we had mainly blanket Appaloosas, which meant that they had a blanket near their butt with spots on it. But Streak was a special Appaloosa because he only had 3 spots. 3, and they weren't big cow spots either. He had one on the top of not his butt per se, but like where, like, the back end of the saddle is, the hindquarters kind of area. He had one spot there, and then he had one spot on one side of his leg upper part, and then another on the other side. I don't want to use too many horse terms because that might confuse people. But basically, he had a bunch on his withers. And my little sister loved, like, she could come up to the fence, and some of the other horses didn't really care for her. Like, it wasn't like they'd attack her or anything like that, but she'd come up and they'd snort at her and they'd walk away. Like, they didn't care. But Streak, when he would see her, he'd come up. Like, he'd walk up to her because he was kind of bullied by the other horses, honestly. Because he was a runt and he was kind of small and insignificant, the other horses just kind of bullied him. Like, they just bullied him a lot. So she'd come up and he'd like instantly, he'd be happy to see her. So he'd like come over, he'd stick his little head through the fence and she'd start petting him, and she'd get up on the fence and she'd just sit there and she'd braid his hair, and he'd just sit there, and he loved getting attention. Like, any attention we would give him, he would love. And so she'd sit there and she'd braid his hair. Like, she wasn't very good at braiding hair, but like, he didn't care. He's just sitting there. He's enjoying the attention. Like, he loved it. I think that also added to the reason the other horses bullied him, because he got so much attention. Because like, sometimes if he'd sit there long enough, the other horses would come over to see if they could get attention as well. And my little sister wouldn't care for him because they already ignored her once. So she'd kind of be like, she'd stick out her tongue at him. She'd be like, no, I'm petting him. And she'd sit there and she'd just braid his hair and try to make... Oh, no, I broke my pick. Yeah, I'll have to make another when we get back. But yeah, she'd sit there and she'd just braid his little hair. He loved getting... He was really terrible at first when we gave him a bath. Like, he kicked and hollered. But after a while, like, especially when we did it by hand and we didn't just hose him down, he really liked the bathing experience. A lot of the horses, like, even when we tried bathing them slow, they just did not take to it. So we just took to hosing them because that was the best way to prevent us getting injured and prevent them from just, you know, getting that matted fur that does not look nice, you know. Because you don't want to be covered in mud like 24/7, you know. So sometimes, like especially on rainy days, they'd sit and roll around in the mud, and then they'd sit like that for a few days. So we definitely go out there with the hose and just clean them off so they didn't sit out there in that hard mud and stuff as it caked on. But he was one of the few that actually liked baths. He just loved anything, honestly. Like, he was a very people-orientated horse. But there were a few people he did not care for. He did not seem to like older males. Like, we had a cousin who came to stay with us for a while because his mom was having issues, so she couldn't take care of her kids at the time. So we took him in for the summer. And he did not like the boy. I won't say his name, but like, he did not like the boy. He did not like the boy, and he did not like my dad. Like, anytime Streak would see my dad or the boy, or they'd be together, he would just instantly want to go somewhere else. Like, he'd yank at the lead and be like, let's go somewhere else. Like, he did not want to be around them. And I remember one time, like, especially, my dad decided that I wasn't training Streak fast enough. He thought that Streak needed to be put on a more I'm trying to think of the way to say it. He basically thought that we babied Streak too much. That he needed to just, you know, not be so... I don't want to say needy, but he kind of was. Like, he loved the attention we gave him. He loved being around us. He was like one of those horses that acted like a dog more than a horse. And my dad decided one day that he wanted Streak to be more like a horse and less like our pet. So he took Streak and he tried to tie him up to a tree, because basically what had happened was I had been putting Streak under the saddle, like I kind of explained with Rebel what I did. He took really well to the saddle, to the point that I could actually put my little brother and sister on him and basically do a pony ride. Like, as long as I was there with Streak leading him, he didn't care if my little brother and sister went on his back. He didn't care. As long as, you know, we were in front of him, or somebody was in front of him, he didn't care about whatever was on his back. Like, he was just a well-mannered horse. And my dad, you know, basically decided to derail that training and set us back a few months by basically trying to do it his way, and it did not end well. Streak was a very stubborn horse, and when my dad basically was like, it's my way or the highway, Streak really did not do so well. Like, my dad, when he tied him up to the tree, he started trying to choke himself. Which, if you ever had a dog and they've not been leash trained, and you notice that they just constantly pull and pull and pull, and they'll start whining and making noises, horses can kind of do the same thing. Where if you tie them to a solid object and that object is not moving, like, they'll just start pulling. Like, they'll hunker down and they'll just pull. And I actually ended up having to ruin Streak's halter because he tried to choke himself out, basically, because he thought he could make that tree move and he couldn't. So I had to cut him loose and broke his halter. And basically, my dad wasn't around Streak. Like, anytime my dad was around, I would just let Streak out so that my dad didn't have a chance to see Streak, to be like, oh, we gotta train him again, because he just really set back a lot of the training. Like, sometimes, especially, I've noticed with older people, when they grow up being taught a certain way to do things, they don't necessarily agree with the way that newer people things. Like, my dad and then his mom both had a way of training horses that was, I don't want to say it was cruel, but it was a lot different than the way I thought of it, because I was around these horses all the time. They were familiar with me. I kind of figured out their personalities. I knew the best motivators for them. It's kind of like when you have a pet and they're very, you notice when like a dog's really food motivated or very play motivated or praise motivated, things like that. I knew all that about the different horses, and I don't want to say they weren't out there a lot, but they weren't out there as much as I was, and they weren't always open to the idea that not everything works in the same way. Like, what may work for one horse doesn't work for another horse. And the same was true with child rearing. Like, some people have an idea of what raising a child entails, and other people have more of, I've heard it referred to as hippie age, hippie age nonsense is what I've heard. What they call it when parents try and be understanding and stuff like that. And it always just makes me sit there and just like wonder why people are so against certain things, because both good and new methods of training and advancement are good, but if you're always stuck in the past, you can't grow as a person, and you can't apply the same logic to one thing and not the other. So they're applying the old logic to a new logic, and it doesn't always work out the way, because I'm trying to think of a good example to like kind of explain it so it's not such an abstract idea, so you guys can get like a kind of reasoning for it. Like, their way of training horses and disciplining and basically getting the horses to do what they want was very saying abusive makes you think that they're like beating the horses, but the way that they do it is kind of like the people who refer to horses, like taming a horse and training a horse, as breaking a horse. Like, that's the way they refer to it. They basically make it so that the horse no longer, I don't want to say they don't have a will, but when they're under saddle, they don't let their personality control them, which some people like that in their horses. Some people do not like the idea of their horse being able, like, if you drop the reins for the horse to just kind of wander wherever it wants. Some people are like, no, we're going for a ride, you're going to go where I want. And there is a significant amount of people who, like, especially, I notice it more with the older generation. Like, again, a lot of the younger generation, a lot of the girls I used to ride with that I knew from like 4-H and stuff like that, we weren't so tight as the adults were. Like, I remember one of the riding instructors that was a part of the 4-H, a lot of the times, if we let our horses have a lot of slack, like if you don't know about like bits and stuff like that, most bits, unless your horse is a soft mouth, which what a soft mouth is, it means that basically they can't take like they can't take a hard metal bit. It just hurts their mouth too much. They get bruising. It causes a lot of issues. So for soft mouths, they never have a bit in their mouth, but most other horses do have a bit in their mouth. And a lot of the times when someone's horse is acting up, or it's misbehaving as they call it, they will yank. Like, you can yank on the bit,
And they do that to try and, I don't want to make it seem like they're abusing the animals, because it's not really. I mean, if they yank hard enough to draw blood, then definitely they're abusing the animal. But usually when they do it, they do a quick jerk. Like, just a quick jerk to kind of draw the horse out from, like, whatever it's wanting to do. And the whole reason behind that, it's kind of like, you know how when you have a dog and the dog sees another dog and it starts trying to go at the other dog? Like, it doesn't want to attack the dog, but it sees the other dog and gets excited, you know? It's like, ha, ha, I want to go over there, I want to play, ha, ha, ha. You know, it's just, like, super hyped up. Well, the horses can sometimes get like that, like especially geldings. Like if they're gelded too late and they smell a mare, they can get really worked up. Like even though they don't have the parts anymore, or you know, they don't have the ability to reproduce, they still will like see a mare and be like, yeah. And they basically they go a little crazy. They they see the mare and they're like, hey baby, you know. You want to have a good time with me, basically. And so sometimes, especially, the riders will jerk, just like a real fast jerk in their mouth, and it basically like snaps the horse a little bit out of it. Sometimes it doesn't always work. Some horses, like, they don't care. Like, I've had a few horses that did not care about the bit in their mouth. Like, they would eat food with a bit in their mouth, which if you want to try and compare that, try and put a straw in your mouth, but don't let the straw move around too much and try and eat. And that's kind of comparable to what it is for bits. Like bits tend to be more metallic, and they depending on what kind of style you get, they can be thicker or smaller, but like try and eat with like a straw in your mouth and make sure it doesn't move around a lot, and you'll kind of get the idea of what it's like for a horse trying to eat with a bit in its mouth. Like it's not something all horses can do. So we had one mare who did have a soft mouth, which basically meant that she, for the most part, you had no real control other than commands and shifting, because if she really wanted to go somewhere and she didn't want to listen, there was nothing really you could do while on her back to prevent her from doing what she wanted. All right. I did this a few times with her, especially because she was so pretty. This was the lead mare. Because she was so pretty and she was a Palomino, a lot of the times taking her to like 4-H shows, rodeo shows and stuff like that, they do sometimes judge you on, one, your riding skill, and then two, like they say they don't, but they do also judge the appearance of your horse and the tack you wear and stuff like that. And if you don't know what tack is, it's basically like the saddle that you're riding, or the blanket that you have on your horse, kind of like the accessories of your horse. Like, how styling is your horse? That sounds weird to think of it like that, but honestly, that's kind of what they're judging you on. It's like, how stylish is your horse? How cool is your horse? Now we have some diamonds, and I want to go use these to make the condenser, but I'm going to keep talking about horses, because it seems like, I don't know, I started out wanting to talk about the zoo stuff, but since we've been mining and there's not a lot of zoo animals around, I figure we could just talk about some stories. Maybe I can entertain you with some of my life experiences and things like that. Or you could learn some things that you never knew about horses, because trust me, horses is a tangent I can go on for days and days and days. Actually, we could make that a series. How long can I talk about horses for? And if you're wondering if I'm like one of those girls who you probably went to school with and was like a crazy horse girl, you would be correct. I was definitely a crazy horse girl, although I could never draw horses. Like, I would be up close to horses all the time. You ask me to draw them, and they always looked horrible. I remember the first time I let my husband see me draw a horse, he thought it was a camel. Because my neck was way too elongated. I'm not good at getting the frames. I wasn't ever good at getting the frames going or any of that. Like, it was always such a struggle for me to proportion the animals right. It might be just my weakness, as like I've never been good at drawing anything. Stick figures I somehow mess up. Like, I'm just not good at art. And it looks like we are getting some more animals since like we're right here. It looks like we have an extra goat because we had 3 before. Now we have 4, and we have... I don't think we've gotten any more cows, actually. Let me go look. Okay, so we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, we did. Okay, we got 1 new cow. Oh, sorry. Alright, time to get back to mining. Alright, so... Oh, Lord, what was I talking about? Oh, man, I hate that. I was distracted with counting, and I forgot what we were talking about. Something with bits. No, styling. Oh, something with horses. I know it was something with horses. I was making a joke about how I could talk about horses for days. And then I totally forgot the tangent I was going on. Yeah, I still can't get... Man. You know, if anybody comments or, like, says, like, do you think you have ADHD? You know, sometimes I do wonder, but at the same time, it only happens when I talk a lot for a long time that my memory just starts going bad. Like, I feel like one of those old cassette tapes that when you rewind it too much, it just stops working. But, yeah. I think I can go back to talking about kind of like what the bits were like and stuff like that. And the different ways that people train their horses and stuff like that. Because it's just like raising a kid. Everybody has an idea of what you're supposed to do to reach the end goal. And some people prefer their horses to be a lot more... I don't want to say well-mannered because that makes it seem like horses aren't well-mannered. Basically to be more... basically obey more when they're under, like when you're under them. Like under them is like a term you use when you're on horseback. So basically they want the horses to behave accordingly because it can be very dangerous if you have a horse that's very new, and it could be very dangerous for the rider if the horse, you know, decides to bolt or jerk the wrong way or anything like that. It can seriously injure a rider. But some of the people go to extreme methods of basically what I want to call dead breaking a horse. Because honestly, that's what I hear it referred to as a lot. Dead breaking is where basically the horse it's where you crush their spirit, is honestly what I feel like it is. It's where you take a horse and you train it like one trains a monkey to play a cymbal and get currency from tourists. Like, they did break these horses so bad that you no longer see... Like, saying I don't see light in their eyes just makes it sound kind of sappy. But honestly, they don't have that spark that makes you think that they're really happy or even alive. Like, for instance, one year for my birthday, my husband wanted to take us horseback riding because I mainly dealt with horses a lot as a young teenager. And in my adult life, we do live in suburbia. So I don't live on a farm like I used to when I was a kid. So I often faintly reminisce about living on a farm and all the things that living on a farm and growing up on a farm taught me. And my husband one year decided that a good present for me would be to go horseback riding, which on paper sounds super sweet and sounds like something fun to do together. But the thing that my husband did not realize is a lot of times, especially because these companies don't want to get sued and stuff like that, they do what is called dead breaking, where they basically break in the horse to the point that the horse no longer really feels like a horse anymore, if that makes sense. Like, even just taking care of horses or seeing them on a daily basis, you can kind of get an idea for their personalities. Like, I remember one of the girls in 4-H that I knew, I think her name was Tiffany. It started with a T. It might have been Trisha or Tiffany, something of that nature. Her horse really loved taking hair, Like, if you got close enough, like, especially because a lot of the times when we're riding, they tell us to have our hair up so it doesn't obscure our vision and stuff like that. So we have our hair up. And when our hairs are in ponytails, that's when the horse really liked to try and snatch hair. Like, not snatch the hair, like, off of your head, but he would definitely nip at it. Like, he would nip at it, and then he would kind of give you, like, a smile and pretend that he didn't nip your hair. Like, that was his whole little game. Was that, like, I remember one of the newer girls that just recently joined 4-H, she walked by him with her ponytail swinging. So he, like, turned his head and nipped her hair. And, like, she turns around, she's freaking out. She's like, your horse bit me, blah, 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 blah. And, like, you know, the riding instructor had to explain to her that was just, like, one of the horse's personality quirks. But that girl, like, literally, she did not like 4-H at all. She ended up, she basically said, like, that she sat there belligerently yelling. Like, her parent was there, too. And, like, her and her mom were just... They just sat there and they berated the girl, Tiffany or Trisha. I can't remember her name. They just sat there berating her and telling her, oh, you're such a bad owner. You know, your horse reflects your personality. You're such a bad person for having a horse like this that would do something like that. Like, how can you live with yourself? I'm just sitting there and berating her to the point that, like, she broke out into tears. And, like... It was so difficult sitting there and watching, like, our riding instructors sit there and, like, try and, like, diffuse the situation, and the mom having no part of it. And, like, later the mom and her daughter would be, they didn't get a ban, but they definitely weren't welcome at the 4-H because they just got more and more belligerent. And, like, you could clearly tell that the mom and the daughter weren't used to horses, like, at all. Like, the girl never did any cleaning of her horse. They actually had, like, a group of guys who would follow them around, and it looked like they were the ones that were in charge of taking care of the horse. I don't know how I got in here. I think I'm lost. So, like, it was obvious that they didn't come from, like, a lot of us 4-H kids did, where we actually, like, would raise and take care of our horses. They seemed like they rented their horse, which is a common practice, where if someone is rich enough but they don't want to deal with a horse 24/7, what they'll do is they'll rent a horse. So, like, say a farmer has a horse that he doesn't want to necessarily sell, but he would be interested in renting the horse for a interested rider. Like, especially with the richer parents, they know their kids don't always stick to things. So the option of renting a horse like that allows the parent to be able to just, like, waste the money on renting the horse but not having to buy it, because some of those kids are very spoiled. Like, especially that girl who's sitting there berating another girl to tears and her mom just sitting there. Like, they were definitely very spoiled people. Just sit there and just talk like that to a young girl. It was really, really bad. I wanted to punch the mom, but I knew I'd get kicked out of 4-H. I already kind of had a reputation for getting into fights in 4-H, so I was, like, skidding on thin ice. But, like, honestly, if I had hit that mom, she couldn't have really done anything because I am a minor, so if she had hit me back, she would have been in more legal trouble than me punching her. But, yeah, 4-H probably would have kicked me out for that. They later did kick me out, and I do actually have a lifetime ban with 4-H, which it makes me sad to say that, but I actually do have a lifetime ban with them. Which, if you're wondering how you get banned out of 4-H, I could tell you, but it's a very long story, and it involves... It involves 3 main instances and some smaller instances that I don't believe are my fault, but I was blamed for nonetheless, which I think is unfair because I think I should have got a fair trial, but the 4-H is run by a bunch of I don't want to say monarchy, but definitely the cards were not stacked in my favor when they kicked me out. They pretty much had enough with me, and it wasn't like anything like that girl where basically, like, I berated anybody like that. It was just more or less incidents. And when I say the word incidents, I mean incidents. Like, these were, she accidentally backed into another horse. Oh no, it goes way worse than that. And I don't completely believe that they're all my fault, but a good majority of them, I will say, are, okay, I confess up to 2 of them being my fault. But the third one was completely out of my control. And any 4-H person who says that it isn't is a liar. That's so terrible. I sound like a raving lunatic. Just I'll take blame for the first 2, but not the third one. That was on you guys. Yeah, like honestly, the third one was kind of on them, but they won't see it that way. If any 4-H viewers are watching and you want to know how to get banned from 4-H, I can tell you how in the next video. Don't do it exactly like me, because they did say that they have a lifetime ban on my children as well. So I don't know how that's supposed to carry over. I don't know if the guy was just talking like that because he was really angry. But he did say that if I have children and I try and enroll them in 4-H, that they will kick them out on the grounds that they are my offspring. Alright, we were going to get obsidian. That's what we went to get. But we ended up not finding any good lava pools. So I'm going to flood the water over here on top of this lava and get 2 pieces of lava here. And then we're going to go down into our mine shaft and get some lava that way. Alright. So, like I said, in the next video, I will tell you how to get a lifetime ban from 4-H. But in this video, we're just going to keep it on horse stuff. So, it will give you something to look forward to tomorrow. You can come learn how to get banned from 4-H. If that is your goal, I can help you get banned from 4-H. Trust you me. They will give you a lifetime ban and your offspring. You don't even have to do the exact steps. Just kind of mimic it. But, yeah, he tried to get me a reservation so that the 2 of us could go horseback riding together, which sounds super romantic and fun. And then I had to explain to him what dead broke was. And like once I explained it to him, he kind of saw why I didn't see the appeal. Which if you don't understand completely, like I haven't done a great job of explaining dead broke to you, besides not being able to see their personalities, you can just tell that they're not happy. Like, have you ever seen a dog in a shelter and thought, man, those dogs are super, like a pound, not a real shelter? Like, have you ever seen a dog in a pound? Like, basically, the pounds that are going to euthanize them. And do they ever look happy? No. The answer is no. If you said yes, you obviously don't know animals very well. But yeah, basically, they're unhappy. They're trained like a monkey to do one task, and that's all they're trained to do. So usually they train them to go on a trail ride. And when I say trail ride, they have pre-designated paths. The horses won't listen to your commands. And I don't mean, oh, you know, they're rebelling, not listening to your commands. They're like robots. They're taught to do a pre-designated order. Like they have the horses, the lead person will be on a horse, and all the other horses will have an order to them, right? All the other horses, the only thing they're looking at, they're not looking at the scenery, they're only looking at the butt of the other horse in front of them. And that is all they're taught to do, is to just walk single file behind each other completely, which is good for novices. Like if you've never rode a horse before, you want to ride a horse safely. You don't want to have to worry about the horse running off or bucking you or any of those kind of things. You know, riding a horse that way is an okay way. But when you take a whole herd of horses and you dead break them like that, it's really heartbreaking to me. Like, I don't know, maybe I'm empathizing too much with the horses, but it makes me feel sad to see that. To see the horses treated in such a manner like that. Like, I don't want to say they're abused to the point that they lose their will to think for themselves, but they're definitely taught to not question the orders. They're just told where to go, and that's it. Like, if you've ever seen pony rides, you see how they have the little horses, the little ponies tied up to the little circle. Excuse me, I keep burping. You see them tied up to the little circle ring that, like, leads around in a circle. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about? The reason that is because it functions in 2 ways. It it basically keeps the ponies in a tight circle, and it can also function as an exercise wheel, right? Like the little ponies, when nobody's riding them, they can keep walking around so they can get exercise. You know, one pony's being lazy and the other ponies make the other pony walk because he's a lazy bum. And they're like, hey, Jeff, it's time to, you know, put your hooves to the ground and walk, Jeff. I know it's so inconvenient for you, Jeff, but you got to walk around. He's like, shut up, Kyle. Don't tell me what to do. And, you know... And basically they exercise like that. That's a little bit different than trail riding. With the trail riding, there's more terrain to cover, but basically the horses are only watching each other's butts. You can kick their sides endlessly. You can yank up on the reins. They won't react. They'll just sit there. Just you know, they're basically like working a 9-to-5 job, and they have no soul left, basically. Like they sold their soul, and now they're just waiting for. It sounds terrible when I say they're waiting for death, but honestly, that's kind of what it feels like sometimes. They're just like sitting there waiting out the clock, being like, "Oh, soon I get to die. Don't have to suffer anymore." And it feels terrible having to think like that, but they just look so sad, so sad. But yeah, it was a sweet gesture on his part to think that I would want to do that for my birthday, but at the same time I didn't want to be depressed on my birthday, you know? Who wants to go and watch a horse just basically like patter around and be sad? That's not something I was super keen for. That was something we definitely didn't do. Like, so sometimes for extra money, especially during the summer, when I was talking about rich kids who would rent horses, there were some rich kids who would buy horses that would cost more than all of our horses combined. Like, for instance, there was a lady who bought a horse for what was he? He was a pure breed. Oh, what was he? He was a pure breed. Man, I can't think of the breed name right. It was something warm blood, but I can't remember the exact breed. But basically, he was going to be used for jumping, but she had bought the horse not knowing that he had not been trained yet. Like, apparently he would have been more expensive if they actually went through the progress of training him. And he was already close to, like, if I remember right, she paid close to $100,000 for this horse. So just imagine $100,000 on one horse. Like, most of our horses, retail value, like, say retail value sounds terrible. Like, most of our horses were maybe at auction, at most would go for $5,000. Appaloosas aren't a super, I mean, I don't want to say they're worthless or they're common, because in some regions of the U.S. they aren't super common, but they definitely aren't a horse that you're going to pay $100,000 for. So this lady really, really overpaid for her daughter, who wasn't even remotely interested in riding, let me tell you. But she wanted the horse to be trained anyways. But the issue is that it was our farm and another guy. And she asked us if we would basically dead break the horse. Like, she wanted it to be so her snotty daughter could basically get up on the horse and he wouldn't do anything. And I had seen her daughter try and ride some of the horses they lend out at the 4-H. And she was a terrible rider. She had terrible posture. If the horse didn't do what she wanted, she would scream at it. Which, if you think about that, if you're on top of a creature who weighs close to 2,000 pounds and you start screaming at it on its back and it's a natural prey animal, that doesn't bode well for her safety, or just anybody's safety, honestly, because she was just screaming. Like, as soon as it did, she's like, "No, go right, you stupid!" And just starts screaming and cussing and all the things with this horse. And, you know, I could have made some extra money that summer, but I didn't want to at the expense of doing something I felt was morally reprehensible to me. Or we just made a condenser. So I opted out of that one, which my dad wasn't super happy with that, and he didn't really understand my reason. He's like, you know, if she wants her horse tamed, then, you know, you do it. But to me, it was worth the principle versus the money. I don't know. Maybe that makes me an idiot for not not taking the money. I know a lot of people, like especially with the amount of money she offered, would say, "Oh, you know, you definitely should have taken that. You know, screw ethics and stuff like that." But I guess to me, you know, I don't want to say I'm a bleeding heart because that makes me sound like a big softie, but I didn't want to contribute to that kind of system. I didn't want to contribute to something I found morally reprehensible and I didn't think should be a thing. Like, if you guys have ever seen, I'm trying to think, what is it called? Have you ever seen the Lion Tamers? Like the guys who like sit up there with a little whip and they crack it at the lions and they make them do little tricks and stuff like that. Like that, to me, I don't think of that as something people should want to do to an animal, if that makes sense. Like, to me, that seems terrible. Like, you should never want to make any animal, not tigers, any animal like that, just dance for other people's amusement. Like, just because you have the power to do something and you can make something do that doesn't mean that you should. You shouldn't sit there and hit them with a whip until they put their paws up in the air and dance for you, because that's just sadistic. It's literally making a show where you make them dance for your own amusement. It doesn't enrich their lives. It doesn't really enrich the lives of the people who are watching it, because you're basically sitting there and watching animal cruelty happen and don't care. You find it amusing. Like, that's one thing I've never liked about certain rodeos, is that some rodeos, to get the horses to buck and stuff like that, they put the what do you call them? They're not saddles. They're the little rope things that they hold. They put them on places that the horses naturally do not want that stuff at, and that's why they buck like that, because they're in pain. They're in pain and they're wanting to get the pain to stop. And they do it so that they buck better, because they think people will enjoy watching them kick up like that. Like, to them, that's entertainment, sitting there and abusing an animal and getting that reaction out of it, you know? If you sat there and you hit a human repeatedly with sit there and hit a human repeatedly with like a ruler or something like that, of course they're either going to take the ruler from you or they're going to run away. And basically by doing that, they're basically they're abusing the animal for their own amusement. And I'm not a person who condones that kind of stuff. Like, if I could live in a perfect world and I could arrest every scumbag in the world who abuses an animal for their own amusement, I mean, honestly, even psychologists say people who sit there and abuse animals like that tend to go on to become serial killers, because they start out killing animals and then they just work themselves up, you know? At first it's little rodents, and then it's a cat, and then it's a dog, you know? Like, it's sadistic. Like, if you just sit there and abuse something for the sake that you have the power to do it, you're not a big person. You're just a homicidal maniac, you know, just working your way up to a human. That's why I'm not a big fan of animal acts like that. Now, you can have a circus that, you know, is more about the human interest in the animals, but I do not like seeing acts where they abuse animals. That doesn't amuse me. I'm not amused watching an animal suffer. I'm not entertained by watching an animal suffer. I'm not going to have a better day because I watched an animal suffer. Ooh, an ivory tusk. Hello, hippo. He looks so happy. So I'm pretty sure one of these rhinos glitched and died. I want that chicken, though. I want that chicken. I don't think any of these trees are grown. Maybe this one. Nope, he's not grown. I definitely do want to get all the trees at some point, but like for right now, I'll just focus on getting some animals. I definitely want that chicken. Okay, so he's right here. Hello, chicken. Ooh, there's 2 chickens. All right, so I have 2 leads. I hope I didn't get too lost. All right, so these are both hens. I want a hen and a rooster, and I'm pretty sure we'll know a rooster when we see them because they have more of the red on their head, which is kind of true in real life too. Like, especially a good majority of chicken species, the more red that they have on the top of their heads, except for like Rhode Island Reds, it usually means that they're a rooster. We had a lot of chickens growing up. Curious fact, if you want to learn how to train a chicken to get you kicked out of 4-H, watch the next video. I'm already plugging tomorrow's stream, and I don't even know it, man. I don't even know it. I feel like I'm gonna hype up the story, and you guys are gonna hear it, and you're gonna be like, man, I thought you like set off some explosions or something. And then you have to remember that I got kicked out of 4-H and then get kicked out of the country, okay, guys? You're expecting me to blow up as like something, and you might be on the wrong video. I got kicked out of 4-H. I didn't get kicked out of the US. I didn't make a bomb, guys. Calm down. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm just too morally uptight. Where did the chicken go? Where'd you go, chicken? Where'd you go with my lead? I hear him, but I don't see him. He's like, he's sneaking. Man, I need that lead. Oh, there you are. Okay. Whew. Found you. Alright, you stay here. I'm gonna go look for a rooster. Because I don't want to take 2 hens back, because I want to be able to breed. Is this a rooster? I think this is a rooster, actually. No, it's a hen. Useless. Useless. One cool thing about the Animania mods is that we actually build nest for our chickens, and they will lay their eggs into the nest. And if we leave the eggs, they will hatch into chickens. If we take the eggs, they are just eggs. But if we leave them to hatch, they will become more. Oh, ducks. Alright, so these are a part of the zoo mod. These aren't a part of Animania's, but I definitely want to have an exhibit of ducks. I'm just not sure where I want to put them. Oh, look, fishies. Oh, no, they aren't fishies. Okay. I was about to be like, oh, yeah, if you weren't here for the first stream, there are supposed to be water mobs, and by that I mean there was fish, but I disabled the fish because it killed. Like, it literally killed my frames. At one point, I couldn't even I couldn't even play the game because when you looked at the pond, it would just crash you. Like, it would just make your Minecraft stutter. So I turned off all the fish. Like, fish have a 10,000% chance of spawning. And you're like, but 10,000, shouldn't that be the, shouldn't that make them all spawn? And the answer is no. In the animal mod, the higher the number that they're supposed to spawn with is the less likely they are to spawn. So if you set a number to like 10,000, I have yet to see a fish yet. So I'm pretty sure I've effectively killed the chicken problem. Alright. So these cows are really far from our base. We're just going to murder them for resources. Okay? Just sorry. It's a murder time. Murder, 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 murder. Hello, Mr. Cow. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for this, Mr. Cow. Oh yeah, and we will need to get obsidian because we're going to, I'm going to kill a baby cow and its mom. But it does, you know, come here, baby cow, I'm sorry. You don't have a mom anymore, I have to kill you or you're going to suffer. You'll suffer, and that's the crueler fate. You'll grow up and you'll become bat cow and you'll come after me. No, come back, baby. Oh, he's so fast. He's an Olympic cow. I'm going to enter you in a cow sweepstakes. No, come here. Alright, I'm gonna pretend I'm not gonna attack him. Oh, I want those goats. Alright. Come back! I just want to murder you. I'm trying to be humane. Hamsters! So if you didn't know, guys, there are hamsters in the Animania mod, and we just found 2 of them. Actually, I want to mark this on my map. Alright. Hamsters. We will come back for these guys at some point. I do not have the seeds to tame them. It's like a combination of, let's see. It's a combination of all, like, melon seeds, pumpkin seeds, and regular seeds to make 3 of these. Or I can use any of the seeds from Pam's, but we'll have to wait till we get a decent sized crop. Okay, I finally murdered him. That was, oh man. I dragged that out too much. All right, where is the goats? I want the goats, which sounds like super messed up that I'm like after the baby, after the goats, after like just killing a baby cow. But you know, we can't stay in the past. Come on, guys. Let's take you back to the base. Da, 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 da. The leather. We did have to kill the cows. Oh, they're gonna have another baby. Oh no. But we killed the cows for the extra leather because we do need to make a saddle. I was hoping this is a plains biome, it looks like, but I did not see any horses spawn, so yeah. But we can actually create a... Oh no. Oh no. Rip. Well, we didn't die, but we probably injured the goats a lot. But we can actually craft a saddle with leather and iron, and we're going to use that to craft the saddles we're going to use for the horses. Alright, come on guys. I'm hoping these guys aren't super low on health, but I feel like they are. I want to grab all the iron I can, and then we're going to tunnel out of this baby. Or maybe instead of tunneling, I should just build a path. Alright, back up, babies. They're just so cute. They're just bang. Alright. But yeah, what was I saying? Oh man. I'm getting dementia. I'm not even that old and I'm getting dementia, man. Damn it. But yeah, I don't know. A lot of people enjoy certain things and I just don't get as much enjoyment out of it. It's like what is it? They say you can't enjoy the meat once you see how the meat's made. And I guess that's true with me for just animal treatment in general. Like, a lot of animals are just treated very poorly. They're no real fault of their own. Like, their only fault is, you know, trusting humans in the first place. Like, I feel like if a lot of animals didn't trust humans, they'd be a lot better off. Because as humans, we do a lot of messed up things to them. Alright, so I'm pretty sure it's this way. Oh, look at the zebras! Oh, this one's gray. He's cute. And a pigoo. But like I said, pigs aren't super important, so these goats are more important than the pigoo. I'm sorry, pig. Is that an octopus? Oh no, it's kelp. That's what it is. I forgot. It adds some water crops like kelp. Kind of like what's being added in the 1. Oh look, there's a lion dancing in the water. Oh, and a coconut. I got a lovely bunch of coconuts. Man, the sound probably sounded horribly off key. Ugh. Alright, I'm pretty sure we're supposed to be going this way. I don't see the village on our map yet, though. But we're going to pretend we're going to stay towards the shore. I see vultures up ahead. Good day, Mr. Kangaroo. I wonder if the kangaroo would consider that racist, that I've just like talked to it as if I was Australian. And they make like little chortling noises. That's cute. Bye, Mr. Kangaroo. Oh yeah, if you haven't voted yet, there is a poll to see what our first exhibit should be. So if you want to vote on what I should build as the first actual enclosure in our zoo, totes go over there and vote for that. But we are getting close to the time I said I would end the stream. Well, I might have actually went over. I don't know. I started at 12 my time. It's almost 3, so like 3 hours. Which isn't that bad if you think about it. 3 hours of streaming. My voice is starting to go a little hoarse though. Haha, I made a horse joke. Yeah, premium content. This sounds so terrible. Alright, come on. Come on. Let's get you in the pen. Da 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 da. Yeah, if I do any work off stream, it will most likely be some more mining work. Just because I feel like mining's going to be the most boring part of this series, and I kind of want to get the farms underground set up, but I don't want to spend 3 hours of your guys' time watching me mine out an area, unless you really want to watch me mine out an area. But like, honestly, we don't have a lot of viewers right now, so I'm not gonna waste the time that I could be using to show off these cute little guys with me mining. So I probably will mine the farm that I'm going to make off stream. I'll probably also have enchanted tools by then. Oh no, they're gonna eat the crops. They're eating the crops! Monsters! Okay. I got that one. I got that one. Get in the pin. Get in here. Alright, so now we have a goat and a goat. And I'm pretty sure if I had enough iron, I could definitely make a pair of shears and shear these guys. So we definitely now have 2 varieties of goats. And we definitely have a lot of eggs. I need to fill up their troughs. They definitely need more wheat. We're getting a decent... the pig hasn't eaten through all his slop yet, so that's good. They will actually, the pigs won't eat the wheat. I noticed this like when I was first testing out the mod to make sure I could actually run it. They won't eat wheat. They will only eat slop, so we don't have to worry about them. Oh, and they just had another baby. Or I saw a heart, so they're gonna have a baby soon. Babies don't always automatically pop out, but they will be coming. Yeah, probably, especially if we start getting more of them in here, we're definitely going to have to up our amount of troughs to animal ratio, if that makes sense. I'm gonna keep the kelp. Alright, let's go deposit our items inside, and then I think that will be a good end to the stream. And like I said, tomorrow, if you come back, I'll teach you how to get kicked out of the 4-H. I'll do it for real. I'm giggling, but I will tell you the story of me getting kicked out of 4-H. If for no other reason that now that I've talked about it, I feel like it will get hyped up. And it will be a beautiful story about a girl who just really loves animals and her struggle against the if I say patriarchy, I feel like my male viewers may get offended, but my struggle against the 4-H's authoritarian views of how we should take care of our stuff. Okay? Like, honestly, they don't own me. They can't tell me what to do. I mean, sure, I'm in their little program. They can't boss me around. They don't own me. All right. I think this is a good time to wrap up the stream. So, if you've enjoyed this stream, consider following. And yeah. Well, I'll see you again tomorrow. I'll actually stream 11 my time. I have it set up by PDT because that's what it told me was like the default time for Twitch. So I think on PDT that's like 9 o'clock. It's like 11 for me. It's 2 hours behind. So it's like 9 o'clock. So we'll start streaming at like a little before noon for me. And we'll probably go for about as long as we did today. And I'm gonna try and stream during the day because that's the time that's best for me. Because at night I spend it with my husband. So yeah. I'll see you guys tomorrow.